all the way until 2030.
Goodness.
After the Home Office claimed it would only be for 12 months. Not much ambition involved in that, is there, in terms of solving the migrant crisis?
Absolutely, and the way that the Labour government gaslit the public when the migrants were first moved in there, saying, you know, you guys are absolutely being mad. Crowborough is a quiet, leafy town in East Sussex. These people, you can see, have been pushed to their absolute limit. They're not the types that you usually see protesting about this sort of thing. But that town has been absolutely desecrated.
You're ruining the country. Get Keir Starmer out. Look, England's flag. You're useless. Labour parties are useless.
I love our country. And one of the things about our country is good manners. Not very British.
What Labour advisor thought she wasn't going to be heckled at a petrol station in Leeds? Do these politicians actually ever get out and understand what it's like for real working class people? I thought it was British to exercise a right to free speech. That's what Keith Stalin told Trump. That's what White Van Man was exercising yesterday to Richard III. Oh yes, I remember. We're not really allowed our right to free speech in case we criticise the government.
You can't blame people so many decades away from you for the chaos that has been caused by Labour.
This is cheap politics, isn't it, Syrian?
Well, it's stupid politics. I mean, who raised national insurance on part-time workers? Labour. Who's been the stupid people that have wandered down the road and increased taxes on businesses and on individuals? Labour.
A lot of people get very frustrated, especially when the government says, oh, free school meals, you know, for every kid, not just the kids who really need them, free bus passes, free this, free that. None of it's free. It's subsidised and paid for by the taxpayer. And we're in this constant situation where the government's answer to everything is tax us a bit more, take more of our money, and then give some more of it away generously. It's our sodding money they're giving away.
Yeah, exactly. And it's either someone else's money today, another taxpayer, or even worse, it's the money from our future selves. And we keep...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very good morning to you. What is it? Wednesday the 26th of August. This is Talk Breakfast. The Talk, of course, the home of common sense. And you, my dears, alarm clock Brits, up and at it. We have to mention her. The queen of country music, the amazing Dolly. But have you got a bit of a montage? She died yesterday. Very sad news. She's not not happening anymore. Crack on. That's what you lot do. Good song. Oh, here we go again. Oh. Jolene. I'll tell you a little story, because I know this. She was married to her husband Dean for 60 years, and Dean had a bit of a crush. Jolene worked at the local laundromat. It's a true story, and that's why Dolly wrote the song. Anyway, Dolly Parton fans, I've done it. What an amazing woman, an icon. 9 to 5. So, to be fair, an alarm clock Britain anthem, but I think we should change it from 4 a.m. to midday. 9 to 5, lazy people. I don't know what you're doing today. Just going to tell you this. It's brilliant. If you pick that up in the news in between all the other stuff. Parts of England today will have that much rain, there's going to be flooding. It was 2 weeks ago I was sat here with no air conditioning in 30-degree heat, feeling like I was sitting in a sauna. Today it's that cold. It's ridiculous. I can simply go with the theory that it's good for the grass. I don't know where you are this morning, whether you're on the way back, way out to work, whatever you're doing, we want to hear from you as ever. The A-team are in. Tommy is in the building taking your calls, 0344 499 1000. Big Mark is pushing every button, if he remembers, as age creeps up on him. Christian is slightly sanguine this morning. He's got a bit roughly throated. I suspect he's been out drinking, but I could be wrong. But the Queen is in the building. I'm not talking about Charlie Rowley, I'm talking about Neha. Charlie, did they? Yeah. Neha is the... I've decided Neha just runs the whole show. 6:05, let's hear from you. Good morning, Charlie, how are you?
Good morning, very well.
Shall we make the announcement?
Yes.
Charlie and I have got our first joint gig, haven't we?
We do.
We're very excited.
We do.
Honestly, we've been booked as a duo. Hinge and Bracket are going on the road. No, we're actually... how do you describe this next weekend?
I would say we're hosting.
We're hosting the Reform Party conference. I'm on the stage and she's running around the place going, oh, do I meet people? That'll be lovely. You were very funny in that meeting the other day. You didn't quite grasp the whole concept, did you?
Not really, no.
No.
I was a bit sort of flustered because I was met at the HQ, the headquarters, and, you know, was shown around and, you know, offered teas and coffees, and everybody was very nice, and I sort of lost track of time, so I did...
He was 15 minutes late for the building because he couldn't find the room and got talking to somebody about Dolly Parton, probably. You were a big Dolly fan, weren't you?
Well, who wasn't? You know, the Queen of Country.
Yes.
And, you know,
I don't know what else to say.
I'm all for that, I'm all for that. I mean, iconic song, I mean, 9 to 5, I mean, come on.
Jolene,
Yeah.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Sorry, my man. So, yes, we're hosting the Reform Party conference next weekend. If you're coming to Birmingham, just a warning, if you are coming to Birmingham, the city could become, under the Liberal Democrats, the Green Party and other weirdos, it could become the first city in the land to have 20-mile-per-hour speed limits. So if you want to get somewhere, I'd leave about a day earlier. I mean, can you imagine that? A city where it's all... Honestly, they do it along the embankment in the morning. The guy that brings me in, it's just, like, ridiculous. I see, honestly, mice going quicker past us. People on cycles, they go 100 miles an hour. I don't understand it.
Well, you would have thought people want to speed up in Birmingham to pass all the rubbish that hasn't been collected.
See, you're learning. So about next weekend, you'll have a thing in your ear, and I'll be able to tell you what to do the whole time. Be fine. Are you excited?
I can't wait. I can't wait to be able to...
Do I get a hotel room? It's all new to you, this, isn't it?
But I also asked, I thought, a very good question at the end to make sure that, you know, because it's a lot, you know, they're long days, these conferences. You're on your feet most of the time and, you know, you've got to engage with a lot of people and keep sort of alert for, you know, anything that's happening, what's happening in the conference hall, what other announcements are going to be made. So I thought, you know, we might, you know, we could do with a few refreshments at the end of the evening. And
That's what he said. He said, will there be drinks? I mean, not what have I got to do. He said, and when will I get lunch? Will there be a sandwich? His rider's extraordinary.
I made sure, I was making sure that
I am going to hone you into a hard-nosed broadcaster. It's not about the lunch. It's not about the time off. Do you know what it's about?
The
money.
Story,
it's the money. Let's be absolute. Marky knows. It's about the Wonga. It's not about anything else. But we'll get it sorted. If you're coming down to Reform, Hinge and Bracket on stage, 0344 499 1000. You weren't here yesterday. Let's talk about this extraordinary piece of work that Isabel Oakeshott and Christian Drogan did that we announced yesterday morning at 7 o'clock. It is a world exclusive. It talks, invading Britain, the undercover migrant. A couple of people I know watched it yesterday, and one of them said to me that the most shocking thing about it, apart from the duplicity, it seems, of so many, was the French border police travelling a mile out to pick up, to say to the people, does anybody feel seasick? Does anybody not want to come? And every single day, 4 men would get off going, oh, I feel ill, I feel ill. And they were the smugglers who would then be transported back to the French coast, and when they go, thanks very much, light a galwa and run off into the trees to sort out the next 25 poor souls. If you haven't seen it, if you're new to Talk, Invading Britain, the Undercover Migrant is available on Talk's YouTube channel. I'm just going to give you a little clip if you are tuning in for the very first time. It's an extraordinary piece of work, and I repeat, nobody else has ever done this. It took 14 months. It took a lot of pressure for Isabel and for Christian, but the end product is scintillating. And I'll tell you how good it is. The mainstream media refused. Have you seen this? I mean, it's in the Sun, it's in the Telegraph, but if this was anything else, this would go across the board. Have a look at a little clip.
The police boat took control of our boat, so it put its bow on our bow, and it turned us round in a circle. While they were talking to us, they said, don't go ahead, it's dangerous out there, it's very wavy.
This is very rough. Okay. Here it's quiet. When you go wider, it's really dangerous. The sea is very rough. Okay, the best way today is to go back.
So the police said that to us, you know, if anybody else wants to get off, get on our boat, we'll take you back. 4 smugglers, get on the gendarme boat, check for weapons, all okay, sit on the back, we'll take you back. The police, the gendarme, took the smugglers back to the shore.
So effectively, the police are giving the smugglers a free lift back to shore. There's a bit of a fig leaf going on here. Yeah. Oh, you know, a few people need to get off. Nobody who's come all the way from sub-Saharan Africa changes their mind at that point. The police are taking them back to the French beaches where they're free to repeat the whole exercise. And the reason this works brilliantly for the smugglers is because they don't have to go all the way to England. What a hassle that is, only to come back again.
Yes. Nobody's recorded what I recorded. Smugglers getting onto the gendarme boat and being taken back to shore.
That is scandalous.
I haven't watched all of it, but I did get through...
Extraordinary reaction to it.
Well, the whole expose, and what was really sort of telling is just the chain of events that take place. So not only the amount of attempts that had to be made, and of course, Christian, as he says in the piece, look, he stands out, compared to all the other migrants. He's clearly European.
The cover story was extraordinary, and he did, for people who don't know, before you watch it, he was trying to. Initially, when they thought, should I be a Kurd? Should I be? Couldn't the language and all that. He banked on a story that he was a criminal who'd been on the run and was coming back because he was desperate to see his family. And that was extraordinary. The other telling thing from the whole thing, if you do watch it, by the way, is that they were very complimentary, Christian, Isabella, about British border force, and gave us the distinct impression that it is government that is failing and that the people are as frustrated who are on the border of this country, but they are working within the parameters of certain rules.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, Christian... given the amount of attempts that he's made and all of the ways in which he's ended up getting to France and different parts of France and the contacts that he's made, the bank of intelligence, if the UK authorities do not take that up seriously, if the mainstream media do not take this seriously and take this on and praise the work, at the very least, then of course the problem is just going to continue.
Do you know what, Christian, we haven't got it, have we? You know what the Home Office did? They sent a statement to us yesterday morning saying it was reckless, but at the same time had already arranged a meeting with Christian Drogan to garner the information that he's gathered. So listen, we'll take your reactions on that again throughout the morning. If you haven't seen it, it is an extraordinary piece of work. You can catch it on the Talk YouTube channel, but it's led me to know that there's one thing I want to talk about, and my mate Robbie in Newcastle has been banging on about this for weeks. And if I was a political, sort of planner, SPAD advisor, I would be telling my MP or my minister, concentrate on this. It started with Lammy. This Labour government have, for some unknown reason, decided to cover up the extent of crimes committed by foreigners, be these sexual crimes, be they murders. David Lammy said, we're not releasing that information. The government is still, Alex Norris is the new Justice Secretary, trying to prevent the full-scale publishing of foreign offending England and Wales from 2018 to 2024. Why? Why would you do that? There is a massive... I'll tell you exactly why you do it, because you don't want people to understand the breadth and the depth of things that are happening, because it becomes rhetoric. And I'm going to bang on and on about this. Yesterday, the families of victims of murders and sex assaults have told ministers it is a cover-up, you need to change. Explain to me, as a political operative in a way, why do you think the Labour government doesn't want to tell us how many crimes are being committed by foreign criminals?
Well, for the simple reason, I think, that they feel that those statistics, as plain as day that they are, highlighting the number of people that commit crimes from particular communities or particular demographics, if that gets into the wrong hands, in inverted commas, that would be seen, or that would be taken out of context. And
but there's no context other to take out the fact that blatantly they're trying to cover it up because it's mass. And I mean, I'm only arguing. I'm not arguing with you.
Totally.
There's a the thing that I don't understand about politicians. There's a really strong feeling in this country that this is a major problem. So you're saying that Labour think if they release those figures, we'd all go, you see, 80% of crimes, 40% of crimes, whatever it is, 20% of crimes are committed. But do they not realise that by actually preventing publication, they're going to feed it even more?
Yeah, oh, totally. And on the back of, so the argument, put it this way, for the rape gang scandal, time and time again, government ministers, Jess Phillips at the time, who, I've got really no time for at all.
I used to talk to her regularly. I'm completely, I don't understand her, but anyway.
But completely captured by, obviously, the Home Office, and completely failed as a minister to even just do the most obvious thing that any minister in any government that I've ever seen, should be able to do, which is to say yes to a public inquiry. But what she ended up doing doing is getting herself into a corner, backing herself into a corner where now she was out saying, well, hold on, the majority of crime that is of a sexual nature or rape are committed by white men. So don't attack these Pakistani, communities. Don't attack these communities, completely forgetting that the proportion of crime that those communities, or the men from particular part of those Pakistani communities, goes over and above their population size. That's why it's a scandal.
I completely agree, and I'll repeat something that a senior detective told me many years ago about Rochdale. I said to him, why has it taken you 8 years? And you can quote me on this, anybody. And he said to me, and I quote, we had to take our time, Jez, because, it would have fervently caused racial tension. I don't give a damn about the colour of your skin. I have said this repeatedly on this show. If you think it's all right to come to this country and rape young women or attack young children, if you are, you're not entitled to be in my country. I mean, we had that ridiculous document the other week. If you're coming here as an illegal migrant, the government don't get it right, do they? Please, do understand we have a different culture. This cover-up, let me give you a story today for people who are thinking, why is he going on about this? The government are trying to cover up the crimes committed by foreigners. That documentary told us yesterday how easy it is to get here. Today, I'll pull one out the bag for you, right? A Sudanese asylum seeker has been jailed for 25 years for attacking a lone woman before slashing her 30 times with a broken bottle. Ibrahim al-Bashir, who arrived in the UK, ready for this, after his claim for asylum was rejected in France. What did they do with him at the border? Lay in wait for the woman on a high street in Leeds, in the centre of the city in 2024. He is mentally ill, but the Judge Mayor said his mental health condition was not the sole cause of his offending. Could we please salute Judge Mayors? Unlike that piece of crap, what's he called? Callacane, who's in honestly, this gets me every morning. He's in a high-security mental prison, having murdered 3 people, with all the problems that showed, and he's getting £1,080 a week a month from the benefits system. Makes you laugh. We're all sitting there going, we got up at 4 o'clock. Dreadful. They should release these. I'd love to know what you think of this, people, because I think this is an absolute disgrace. And we have a Prime Minister who apparently wants it known that he listens to people. I would suspect the majority of people in the United Kingdom want to know the crimes being committed by people who are breaking into this country illegally. Tim, good morning.
Good morning, Jez. Tim from Birmingham. In my truck, heading back from Spalding back to Birmingham. Poor Dolly Parton, rest in peace, man. She rest in peace, wonderful singer. What can I say about Birmingham? Yes, first city to become 20 miles an hour. It's also the first city where the rubbish don't get collected. Ha ha! Have a good one, people.
I love alarm clock Brits. It makes no sense at all. What do you make of this cover-up, though? It's not good, is it, at all?
No, absolutely not. And it's treating the British public with complete contempt. I know what's happening in certain parts of the country. So, for example, in London, it might be the case that there are more young black men involved in crime against other young black men. Now, that's not to say that any man that is black in London is committing crime. Of course it's not. Of course not. And I can understand that. And the British public can understand that. Where there are targeted areas of crime and gang crime, and particularly in London, and it does tend to be, black gangs of young black men, that needs to be targeted and contained. But don't try and cover those figures for me in London as if I can't understand that. And it goes to the heart of radicalisation in this country. We have, in the PREVENT programme, the majority of people, 2/3 of people that refer to PREVENT, of an Islamic radicalised extremist view. Now, that's not to say every Muslim... Of course it's not saying every Muslim in this country is going to be an extremist. I get that, right? Everybody can understand that, but you can't deal with these problems by burying those statistics in a pile of sand or burying your head in the sand and just trying to suppress that information, because the British public, they won't understand. They won't understand. They'll interpret it completely the wrong way. There'll be civil unrest. There'll be riots.
No, treating them like idiots when they've woken up to understanding what's going on after years of being told things that didn't turn out to be true means that they will question even more. Apparently I'm in trouble. Am I genuinely in trouble? Jamie, good morning.
4 a.m. till midday? You having a laugh? Try 4 a.m. till 6 p.m. Anyway, have a good one.
This was because I said Dolly's son should be for alarm clock, but it's from 4 a.m. to midday. No, he's doing 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours. I bet you're going home to bed after you've had this for an hour, aren't you?
No.
1 hour?
No.
When do you think I'll finish today? When do you think I'll finish?
Well, when do you get off?
Pardon?
Would you?
Mrs. Ooer, where did that come from? He's gone mad now. Well, I'll do this, and I've got a couple of meetings, then I'll decide, and then I'm working this afternoon, and then I'm writing something this evening, so I'll probably fall into bed about 10 o'clock tonight.
Wow.
I know, see, it's hard work, isn't it? Let us know what you think, by the way, about this hiding crime, because I think it's disgusting. I think it's another own goal by a government who is petrified. You nailed it when you said they'll go, oh, it'll lead to civil unrest. Oh, we don't want to give them too much information. You've done that before, and it doesn't work. Remember Southport? I will stick by this theory about Southport until they drag me out of this studio. I think the government knew that wasn't an illegal migrant, and as it bred and bred on social media, let it go, and then he put his 6,000 militia on the streets and arrested and tried people within 24 hours and went, they're all far right. Outrageous. 6:20. Jez, have a great show. No mention of you from Steve in Oxfordshire. He's upset now. I'm going to get in first with this today. I'm a veteran with over a decade of service. I've got a wooden eye, a brass leg. I'm blind in the other eye. I've got an ugly wife who's got a crap attitude. Please, can I have a Talk TV mug?
Where's me mug?
Honestly, I try really hard. We're down to 15 mugs. By the way, you should have sent Dave in Aberdeen one yesterday. He won it, so don't think you're getting away with it. All right. At the moment, Steve is top of the pops. Mark, your new job, apart from button pushing, is to make a note of who gets the mug. We haven't got any mugs. I'm getting into trouble every day. I don't give a...
I'm holding on to this for dear life.
That won't be the first time you've said that. Jez and Chaz. R.I.P. the great Dolly. She visited Wales many years ago and was so touched by the love story of two guys she met that she went away and wrote, "And Di will always love you." Very good. See, do you see? See, that's a Welsh joke. Do you get that?
No.
Right. Dolly Parton's best song is "We Will Always Love You." She wanted Elvis Presley to cover this. Colonel Parker wanted half the publishing rights. You don't know how I know this stuff, do you? It's extraordinary. Covered, of course, for Bodyguard by Whitney Houston. It's a joke. Hi, guys. R.I.P. Julian is in Newport, which is in Wales.
Yes.
Oh, lovely, is it?
Yes, yes.
R.I.P. to Dolly. OK, she visited Wales many years ago and was so touched by the love story of two guys she met that she went away and wrote, "And Di will always love you." Di will always love you.
You got it now, yes. It needed the accent, I think. It's almost as if, you know...
I struggle. I struggle. You're supposed to be on the ball. You're reaching the top level now. You're sitting there moaning about what you're going to get in your rider at the Reform Party conference and you can't even get a joke. What's wrong with you?
I was looking out for you.
Oh, God. Yes. Mark in Croydon's now sending me a picture. Morning, Jeremy. No talk of running out of mugs, so my girlfriend got me one of my own. Not sure if you show the picture, but I've saved Talk at least £3. What does it say on the picture? Hold on. What does it say? Sod this. I'd rather be watching Talk TV.
That's good.
That's brilliant. Can we get some of them? Sod this. I'd rather be watching Talk TV. I'll buy some of them, Christian. I'll buy... Let's get this. Winner, sod this. I'd rather be watching Talk TV mug. We don't need budget for that. I'll pay for it. Or Christian, order some. Steve's in the... You can get your hands on that, can't you?
I can try.
You can get your hands on anything. 6:23. We're back in 3. That rhymed. Oh, lovely.
Go to Calais train station?
Yes, train station.
OK. I was gipping. It was brutal. Come on, guys! Ready, full touch, go on! And they're on the way over to UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 6:25. JK and my reliable sidekick, Charlie Rowley, in the building. Hello.
Good morning.
Are you loving life?
I am. I'm always on a Wednesday morning.
Good. Well, we do it twice a week and sometimes three. Yesterday, of course, we revealed our Talk World exclusive Isabel Oakeshott and Christian Drogan, the first British reporter to basically break into his own country, across the English Channel. It's on our YouTube channel. It's getting unbelievable footage. Still want your reaction if you've watched it, if you have an opinion from it, by the way. Has come my bugbear today, which is that this started with David Lammy, who was then the Justice Secretary. He was sacked. He's been replaced by Alex Norris. This government is refusing, despite families, victims' families begging them, to release the numbers of people in terms of how many unvetted men breaking into this country are committing crimes, murder, rape, child abuse. They don't want us to know. I repeated the story about a Sudanese asylum seeker who finally met a judge with a pair of cojones yesterday. Well done, Judge Mayers. This piece of crap, was it Ibrahim al-Bashir, waited in broad daylight in Leeds, next to a high street, waited for a woman, grabbed her, attacked her and knifed her, and I think slashed her 30 times with a broken bottle. He was only here because he'd been rejected in France, but he got here and nobody said a word, and he's put him in jail for 25 years, the judge. Good man, and said, don't give me that mental health card. You're not good enough to be here. I completely get it. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Of course, Dolly Parton passing away overnight. A country icon. Cindy, good morning.
Good morning, JK and Charlie. This is Cindy from Michigan, United States. I wanted to talk about Dolly Parton and how sad I am that she's gone. She will always be a legend. We love her here in America. She was loved around the world, and I still can't believe she's gone.
Yeah, lots of people, genuinely an icon, and tributes will continue to the late, great Dolly Parton. There she is, sadly dying. As a legendary country and western singer. She died aged 80. I think the family released a statement saying it was cancer-related. Another part of the news today, which is really interesting, and it's got my brain... Well, it's not. Christian said it earlier. Good morning, JK, says Sean in Gloucester. So Andy Pandy has now upset Putin and involved us in the Ukraine war. They also want us to have survival kits. Now, on certain days, like yesterday, this show is packed. It's packed. The news isn't massively... I mean, there isn't an awful lot because it's the holiday period. We've got a bank holiday coming up. Flooding's going to happen if you're going away camping. I'm not ever again. Survival kits. Do we not think we should ask people all morning what you would put in a survival kit? Now, I can't tell you what I would put in a survival kit because I'd just phone somebody and get them to land in a helicopter and whisk me away from whatever piece of crap island I was... Anyway, I mean, what would you have in a survival kit? Would you have a Dolly Parton CD? Would you have cigarettes? Would you have... somebody's told me before you should have a... what's the thing called? A magnifying glass so you can set fire to things. What would you take?
Well, I did think about this earlier on. I thought a tube of...
a pardon?
A
tube of what?
Of antiseptic cream.
I'm glad he said antiseptic cream. I thought we were going down another route there.
I'm sure you'd need, you know...
I thought you were doing my initials around the wrong way. Go on.
You know, if it cuts...
Work it out.
Well, cuts and scrapes, you know, if you're stuck in a jungle somewhere and, you know... You might have grazed knees, or you know,
That'll be something you've experienced before.
You might need.
Yes.
You know.
So your idea of survival is to take some antiseptic cream because you just spent that much time on your knees in the jungle. You've got scraped legs. Is that what we're saying?
Well, I mean, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you can do better than that. What would your survival kit be? What would your survival kit be? I mean, look, there's a serious angle, but honestly. Burnham, Putin, Ukraine, the war. People will say we shouldn't be paying. Others will say, yes, we should. They'll be called warmongers. Honestly, I never wanted to get to a point where I go blah, blah, blah. But it is a horrible conflict started by Russia. The implications for Europe are massive. But if there was, if Andy Pandy in his T-shirt has upset Vladimir Putin, sort of fair play, Putin is making, you know, comments about attacking England, whatever. Don't waste your day worrying about this. What would you have in your survival kit? Team Through the Glass, I'm giving you 5 minutes to come up with your suggestions. I need better than antiseptic cream for my knees. I mean, that's essentially what you've just said.
But what's wrong with that?
Nothing, but that doesn't sustain you. Don't you need matches, or wouldn't you need a magnifying glass? Would you need a knife?
A torch, a small torch.
Do you imagine him sat on a desert island jungle with a torch? Oh God, I've got raised knees from trying to pick those blackberries, and honestly, I can't see anything or anybody. Oh, there's a big man coming out of the wood. There's got to be... Mark, what are you thinking? See, there you are. He says you'd take a dinghy, which is quite a good idea. Could you blow it up with your mouth, or would you need a pump? Christian, what would you take? Probably a sheep. Christian, what would you take on a survival kit? Anything? He'd take me.
Oh,
I don't.
But hold on. But a kit. We're talking about a survival kit.
He could squash me up. I've lost weight. I've stopped the alcohol. Actually, to be honest, I'm going to be completely honest here. I would take Tommy. I literally would take Tommy. Tommy's the nearest I've ever had to a valet. I'd take Tommy with me. Squash Tommy up. If I say to him at like 5:30, can I have a pen? We get all sorts of pens. He's amazing, Tommy. Yeah. He's like. I imagine Tommy would be like the ultimately brilliant butler. Even on a desert island, I think he'd serve fondant fancies to me on bone china plates with doilies at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Do you know what I mean? Honestly. No, I'm being serious.
It sounds more like a holiday than sort of stranded in a...
Good morning, Jezza and the beautiful Charlie. This is from Jules in London. The government doesn't care about victims of migrant crime. I'm so on this. Rhiannon White's mother, Siobhan, repeatedly asked Starmer to meet her and has also requested a meeting with Burnham. No reply. I'm going to keep going on about this. You know, it is absolutely... Rhiannon White is an absolute example of somebody who lost their life because somebody did something and we didn't know who that person was. Why are the British government denying us, the public, knowledge of how many crimes are being committed? And Charlie, you said it earlier, they think it will cause unrest. There will be more anger as this continues. Adam, good morning.
All right, Jezza. Adam from Bournemouth. I was up at 4:15 this morning, having to pay my tax and everything else for these legals and everyone else that wants to sit around. Anyway, the news, every day you turn it on, everyone acts shocked like what's going on. One thing I am going to say about Andy Burnham is I think Kenny Badenoch has got such an open goal when Prime Minister questions come, and I think she's going to take him down, and I think by Christmas, mate, you watch, he ain't going to be in a great position because she's got so much to go on because he's just looking stupid every day. Anyway, mate, keep up the great fight.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, that's interesting as well. A lot of people saying that Andy Burnham has had this free run for 6 weeks to just basically walk around the country and wear his T-shirt and give out sweets, that when he gets questioned. It'll be interesting. The Kemi Badenoch thing interests me as well. I saw an interview with her yesterday. The thing about Kemi Badenoch is she's definitely cutting through as a leader, somebody at Prime Minister's Question Time. But her party aren't, are they? Not really. Your old party is not. They are still, I suspect, perceived by a majority as still toxic.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. I mean, Kemi polls better than the party, and that's the only thing that is, or one of the things that is preventing the Tory party, I think, from progressing around the 22% in terms of opinion polls. People like Kemi because she is very direct. She's a different style of politician. You know, it's.
Do you think she can win the next election?
No, I don't, at the minute. Look, a week is a long time in politics, we all know that phrase, and we've got 3 years to go, but at the minute, I think, but that's not because of Kemi. I think that is still, what she has to do continually as the leader of the Conservative Party is to continue to remind people that it's under new leadership, that she is a different, you know, she has a different style, she has different policies, she's getting the Conservative Party conservative again, where it was, you know, trapped in things like net zero, where it's, you know, where people would still campaign to remain in the ECHR. You know, those are two fundamental things that she said. Anyone that wants to be Conservative, you've got to be fully signed up to those principles. But she you know, in terms of the party, I mean, it's not dead because, as I say, it's still hanging around the 20%. So she's keeping it there. If she wants to progress the Tory party, she's got to continue down that path because it is just the Tory brand. You know, in answer to any question, if you ask Kemi Badenoch, you know, she's in an impossible position, right? You know, Kemi, OK, you're saying you want to change this now, you want to leave the ECHR, you want to ditch net zero, you want to deport all these foreign criminals, you want to stop the boats. Your party had 14 years to do that. That will always be the charge at the Conservatives. Even Boris Johnson, the great heralded leader, you know, who was Mayor of London, you know, even he didn't stop all of this. How can you prove, and your party prove, that you now, you know, have changed in the way in which you say that you have? She's got to answer that question time and time again until that cuts through and until she's demonstrating that the party really has changed. Then it'll always be difficult for her.
It's very interesting for me because the Tory brand, you know, will for a long time be held by perhaps disaffected Tories as you didn't do what you say you're going to do. If you look in the cold hard light of day, if there wasn't reform, right, they would say, oh, she's changed the party, she wants to join the ECHR, she wants to, you know, she wants to do this, she wants to do that. But she's having to play catch-up, and that's half the problem. And her approach is reform are a bunch of ragtag people who don't know what they're talking about. Reform's approach is literally they had 14 years and they've completely messed up, and that's where we're at. It's a really interesting one. I've got to say, the anger already amongst you about this hiding crimes is understandable. Just to repeat, we've learned today that families of victims of murders and sex assaults by migrants have told ministers that any attempt to cover up the extensive crimes committed by foreigners must be ended. It's a disgrace. It started with Lammy. It's carried on with Alex Norris. I don't understand it. I have no idea. She's something about trust, isn't there, right? So I think people weren't invested in politics. Then I think they were repelled by it with the expenses scandal and didn't want to know. But I think because, and I don't want to talk about COVID at all. I think the cost of living, I think how hard it is for people. I think people have started to look, listen and go, hold on a minute, that's not fair. We talk about fairness every day. You're treating the British public as idiots because this will merely fuel the belief that you're hiding it because the figures are outrageous.
Absolutely. And look, to take your perfect example earlier on about Southport and compare that with the Liverpool attack where somebody, you know, was in a van and drove down Liverpool. I think they were celebrating the Premier League when they won a couple of years ago.
That's right, yeah.
The police immediately released, this is a white British man that we're after, you know, as if that mattered. You know, well, the accusation that's labelled, certainly at the last government, and I think will be continued under this one, and by last government I mean under Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves, is this idea of two-tier policing, two-tier Britain. And so you've got to be consistent. If you know that someone is on the run or someone is committing a crime that happens to be of a particular skin colour or of a particular faith or of a particular ideology that the police are aware about, release that information. The public are not stupid. We can handle
Neil in
this
Surrey is great. Morning, JK. Isn't the government refusing to release this information because it'll cause unrest and indictment in itself? Well, an indictment, it is absolutely true.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you know, the people that might, if there are people out there that are minded to then take to the streets and protest, well, you know, by the way, protesting is allowed in this country. We see it most weekends in London. You know,
that's allowed, isn't it?
Flags. So you can protest legally and within means. Of course, if you take it too far, then the police will deal with you. But you can't prevent the the mainstream public.
Shouldn't I think it is taking the British public for mugs, and that is not mugs. Yes, all right, all right. So. You'll obviously make your reasons for calling and texting about mugs, but also survival kits. Apparently Burnham's upset Putin, and if people are now writing articles saying, what would you have in your survival kit? We'll do some of them. Tony's got one. Morning, Tone.
Good morning, Jezza. That's Tony from Norfolk. Well, I'll tell you what a survival for me would be. Well, no, it wouldn't, in fact. I was going to say it'd be a tea bag, some water, and something to boil it in so I can have a cup of tea in me talk mug that I ain't got. But I ain't got one, so I can't. So survival, bugger it, I'll go with the rest of them. Have a good one. Great show, mate. Ta-da!
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? The people of this country, alarm clock Brits, they respond to certain things but not to others. There is genuine anger, obviously, about, you know, the not releasing crimes, but most of this is a desperate attempt to get a mug or what they take to a desert island or a survival kit. I would take Charlie Rowley, says Jackie, because he'd make me laugh.
Oh, wow.
My survival kit, Gordon in Slough, would contain a dark T-shirt, black rimmed glasses, false eyebrows and I Love Manchester badge. I'd masquerade as a competent PM to be rescued immediately. It's quite good, isn't it? I love that. Joanna, Isabel and Chris's documentary has blown the last lid on the migrant cover-up. I've sent the link to loads of people that don't watch Talk. They cannot control the cover-up of the extent of crimes by illegal migrants against us anymore that are now a constant drip feed daily. The truth needs to be out there. Well said. Talk, up at 3:15 a.m. to drive 200 miles to build racking. Sleeping is for babies. Sleeping is for... They are. Sleeping is for... No baby ever said. Crime Watch was taken off the air years ago, probably because most of the criminals were foreign. It was a top programme. Bob in Thetford. Keep up the good work. Was it a good programme? Have you seen this man? Honestly.
I vaguely remember Crime Watch. When...
Don't have not... Brilliant. Used to this. That was Crime Watch. Don't have nightmares, despite the fact we've just shown you an hour of heinous crimes where people could come into your bedroom in the middle of the night and destroy you. Do you know what I mean? Honestly, I remember that. Don't have nightmares. Morning, Jez. Who on earth would fight for this country? Probably nobody. Sally Burford says, in my survival kit, I put my Talk mug. Oh, sorry, I haven't got one, so I won't survive.
Where's the mug?
Shut up. That's actually quite... Get Sally on the same list. We'll work between her and Steve. I put a very big bar of chocolate. There is no list. There must be a list. I'll buy... I would put a very big bar of chocolate in my survival kit, says Sarah.
I know I'm with Sarah on this one.
What's your favourite chocolate?
Well, now I'm going to get to it because I you know me, I'm cheap and easy.
Yes.
And there is nothing wrong with a bar of dairy milk. Other chocolates are available, but I know people will say that's not real chocolate because the amount of cocoa is not in, you know,
that. I like traditional dairy milk and chocolate.
Pretty good.
Like
yes. Yeah.
But I do like the new ways they've done it with the crunchy bits in and the dime bits in and the toffee in and all that stuff. But I've given up chocolate and wine.
Well, that's why you're looking so trim.
Thank you. I've decided that it's that stage of life. Russ says, in my survival kit, I take my dad's shotgun. Brilliant. OK, well, welcome to breakfast here on Talk this morning. Mickey Wallington says, Putin is, frankly, in my opinion, the least of our worries. The government are the enemy in my country and are doing no good. Oh, this is interesting. Pedro, morning, Pedro. He says, one thing about illegal immigrants never mentioned is what is going to happen in the future when they're elderly, have no houses or money and no pension. They're going to cost this country millions to look after. That's a really salient point as well, isn't it?
Oh, totally. I mean, look, we talk about the amount of tax that, you know, people are... the amount of work that people are doing and the amount of tax that they're having to pay into the Treasury coffers to then go on migrants that come into the country now. You're absolutely right. What happens in a decade, 20 years, 30 years' time? You know, the debt is just going to keep piling up. It's almost at 3 trillion as it is.
So it's not going anywhere, is it?
And that's why, you know, the previous text about... I mean, Parliament's coming back next week. You know, Kemi Badenoch, yes, there's a bit of work to do, but she'll be confronting Andy Burnham face-to-face at the dispatch box. He's got so many questions to answer, having this 6 weeks free reign and free run of media.
Absolutely.
So, you know, he's going to have to justify, and we've got a budget coming up in the autumn, you know, where he didn't rule out tax rises. Can we afford more tax? Do people want to pay more tax?
They will have to pay more tax under this government, unfortunately. Matt, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Matt in Hove here. I think I'm a bit late to the party for the first voice note to win a banana. Is it already gone? Or has Charlie had it?
Charlie's never had my banana, I'd like to point out. But yes, Matt, I'm not trying to be rude, mate. I mean, let's be frank to you. An alarm clock Brit sending a voice note at 7:15, you lazy git, and you sound asleep. I was up at 2. Do you know what I mean? You don't try and join the party when you're a lightweight.
Yeah, exactly.
Alarm clock Brits are up at 4, they're on the road, they're working, they're doing their bits. Oh, just to depress you all, by the way, right? So, yeah, Putin might launch an attack, you need a survival kit. The government won't tell us how many crimes are being committed by illegal migrants. Tax will probably go up, let's be perfectly honest, in the budget. Oh, Energy bills at 7 o'clock for millions are expected to rise this winter to the highest level for 3 years. We're going to get a price cap at 7 o'clock. What happened to that government promise? Didn't Labour say we're going to drop your bills by 300 quid? And didn't Burnham say a few weeks ago, I'm going to take VAT off your bill, which was about 40 quid? They reckon the rise this morning will be £80. I see no mention from Andy Bloody Burnham this morning about that, do you? No. So your 40 minus and your 80 plus means it's gone up by 40, Burnham. Not telling the truth, is he? It's going to be found out.
You're absolutely right. And there'll be, I think there's a price cap rise, today by the sounds of
They
things.
reckon £80, right? And so it makes a mockery of what that bloke said.
Absolutely. And there'll be another one in January. But this is the point. The government will then say, or try to say, well, hang on, if we didn't cut bills by whatever it was, £300, or if we didn't take 20% off the VAT or whatever, or 5% off the VAT, the 20% was off hospitality, then, of course, they'd be even higher. So we have giving you a cut in your bills, which will actually... It's just massaging the figures. But again, it's something that the governments will try and do. Some smart aleck in the Treasury will try to say, well, Prime Minister, if you say, you've cut bills, then you can get away with it because otherwise bills will be high.
They're doing it again, Charlie. The British public, I don't know what's happened, but are far more switched on than they have ever been. Of course. There's politicians who go, when I go around the country. I'm going to say that. When I go around the country, right... I went to Lyme Regis, I've been to Aberystwyth. Oh, yes. Honestly, to a man and a woman, 9 people out of 10 go, Jez, got to keep the fight going. This is ridiculous. I've never been invested in politics. I'd never be interested in politics, but this is driving me absolutely insane. The unfairness of what's happened. And it's very easy. Maybe it was easy in the past for people to go, oh, you don't want to listen to him. He's on the right. It's not about that anymore. It's about what's the difference between right and wrong and what's fair and what's unfair.
Yep.
And I just genuinely think that the government and these ridiculous special advisors, right? I mean, who thinks it's a good decision to go, if you say this, you'll look really good? What about the long-term ramifications of that, you whatever? And I can't get it.
And
I can't have it.
No, you're
I'd rather he stood on the first day and gone, listen, I could spend the next... This is what I'd have done, and you can laugh at me, this would never have happened. I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I've got to earn your trust. I've got here almost through the back door. But here's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to rush around the country before Parliament for 6 weeks promising stuff that I can't afford. I'm going to lay bare the problems that we've got, and I'm going to tell you the good, the bad and the ugly, and I'm going to give you my ideas of how I can make it better. That's it. And there will be days when you hate what I say and days when you think I do, but I am not simply going to charm you, because in the end, the air will come out of the... It'll blow up. It always blows up when they promise what they can't deliver.
Yeah. And do you know what? I mean, you said people wouldn't back that. I think they would, actually, because the frustration in this country that we have so far is that we've had 7 prime ministers in about 10 years.
Yep.
The chopping and changing of direction lead. People just want someone to be able to get a grip.
History will show that the British people are all right, maybe not great, but all right if you tell them it's pretty bad, and rather than sugarcoating it, I'm going to tell you the truth. There's going to be some hard yards, but we'll get there. They're fed up with being told... We'll deal with that tomorrow. We'll kick it down the street. Could do it now.
Yeah, and people...
We're skint.
Absolutely. And
our priorities are wrong.
Absolutely. And
vote Kyle.
And that... I'm all for that. I'd be your bag carrier, campaign manager. Well,
Tom is carrying the bag.
If you want to
Tom is carrying the bag, and I don't mind you being Miss Bad, but could we come up with? So what do I do? Do I stand there and will I have a microphone?
If it rained, I'd hold an umbrella.
He said, I'm just going to be surrounded by Dolly fans with umbrellas, aren't I? It's all going to be great. Listen, whatever you want to talk about this morning, that energy price cap will be announced. Putin threatening Britain. What would you have in your survival kit? What do you think of the fact this government refuses to tell us the extent of the cover-up of crimes committed by migrants? Have you seen our amazing new programme? It's on our YouTube channel. It was a Talk World exclusive yesterday. Isabel Oakeshott and Christian Drogan. We had the first reporter ever to break into his own country as an illegal migrant. It's astonishing footing. Go to Talk... Is it talk.tv? What is it? Just Talk TV? What is it? Talk's YouTube channel, said the Welshman who's got a frog in his throat. Won't be the first time. Tina, good morning.
Morning, Jezza and Charlie. It's Tina. I'm running again. If I survive this, I'll need a Talk TV mug for my well-earned cup of tea. Thank you.
We haven't got a break. Have we not got an ad break? Oh, we're taking it to the top, Charlie. Do you want to take it to the top?
Oh, well. Where's Tina running, I wonder?
I don't know where Tina's running. Concentrate, man. Are you a jogger?
Do you know what? Well, you know the story, don't you?
No.
I never had...
the story about where your shirt smelt. I don't know why you didn't...
I never had a Saturday job, like working in a bar or doing a paper round. But, you know, I was a football referee from the age of 16. What's so funny about that? I was fierce, if you don't mind me saying.
Get lost. Nobody... It's a penalty. Stop running. You've kicked him, you horrible man. Why have you kicked him? I'm going to give you a card.
No.
Here's my card. See me later.
My strength.
Really?
Yeah, I was from the age of 16, and I used to do 2 games on a Saturday and 2 games on a Sunday. But I used to run. Obviously, I was a runner at school. That was a
Did you like to keep the black outfit?
I've still got the kit. Yes.
And did you get paid to do that?
I did. Yes.
How much did you get a match?
You would get between on a Saturday, because you'd be dealing with sort of, you know, under 8s, under 9s.
Oh, you were basically bossing kids around with a whistle.
No, but that was on a Saturday, you know, so that was about between 15, 20 quid per game. And
what about Sunday? Was it real men?
25, 30 quid.
Good for you. Who'd have thought that?
Loved it.
The next thing you're going to tell me is you were a boxer.
Loved it. Well, kickboxing. Yes.
I can't believe it. That's amazing. See, that gets my brain going. That's an incredible... If you'd said to me my first job was as a football referee, so actually what they don't know is you're a massive football fan.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a season ticket holder with my dad at Arsenal.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
My dad's dead. 0344... He is dead, yeah. That's very sad. 0344... He is dead. He's been dead 6 years. 0344 499 1000. Jez says, Dalton, if Labour did their own mug, the handle would be so far to the left that it would tip over. Do I win the mug of the day thing? You're in the hat, Dalton. We've got a hat. We can afford that. Morning. What has happened to Labour's GB Energy? Yeah, GB Energy. The Great British Energy thing that was set up to make sure that we had low energy prices. Well, let's talk about facts. Our energy prices have gone up by 300 quid, and there is this energy price cap at 7 o'clock that's going to say even more. But yet, wasn't it Jurgen who ran GB Energy, some bloke on 300 grand a year with no office that nobody's ever heard of? What happened to Starmer's GB Energy? Is that gone?
Well, quietly shelved by the sounds of things. And who was the architect of that? Who was the one pushing for that?
Jürgen Meyer was the man. Who was the architect of what?
Well, it's now our esteemed Foreign Secretary, Ed Miliband.
Who's upset the Israelis already. He's doing a good job. Sorry, Jason in Bristol. Jezza, it's a great show. Not on this station, listen to something else, obviously.
If you can call
Just
this a
think,
show.
with these energy bill price rises, all the illegals get all their electricity for free in their HMOs. Happy days. Very good point. Oh, you can't say that. That's wrong. You can on this show. Morning, JK and Charlie. Sod Crime Watch. Bring back Police 5 with Shaw Taylor, says Chris in Greenham. Shaw? I don't know what police... Do we know? Mark does. He knows everything. Morning, Jez and Charlie. I have to say that I was warming to Kemi, but I've gone right off her now since she chose to pursue a strategy of constantly mudslinging at Reform. I have no issue with criticising policy, but she can't really do that because she's nicking their policy, so she has to resort to the Charter's insults instead, and that's not a good look. She is not persuading this former Tory voter to go back to them. Nicola in Norfolk. Alex is in Belfast. Morning, gents. The only reason the smugglers will return to France mid-invasion will be to launch more boats, obviously. Watch this on this most shocking footage is that they go out a mile and then the police arrive, the gendarmes. They don't make them all go out. They go, anybody feeling seasick? Anybody want to go back? And 4 of them go, well, we do. And they get on the boat. And they're the smugglers, and they go back to the land and do it all again. It's absolutely unbelievable. Great watch. Jez and Charlie, the most important thing I would place in a survival kit is my talkTV mug. Oh, hang on a minute, I don't have one. Have a wonderful day to you and your viewers. Helen in London. If you didn't laugh, you would go mad. Well, Charlie laughs every morning he gets undressed. Morning, Jez. Serious question. With so many MPs in a party and such a poor performance by all of the Tories, can you ask Charlie why they believe they can just keep coming on and saying, Kem is in charge, we've changed? Are they thick, or do they think we believe one person can change the thoughts of the rest of them 14 years? That's the problem she's got, encapsulated in that message, right?
Yeah, totally. And there'll be people who are still Tory MPs. There are people that are still in her shadow cabinet that were part of successive Tory governments, whether that's from David Cameron, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak, in case you'd forgotten them all.
How could I? They're etched on my memory.
Exactly. So it is the constant problem that she's got, the thorn in her side, to make sure that she can actually say, right, no, if you're a Tory candidate, you have signed up to X, Y, Z, and that is going to be, no one can defy her. No one can, that is the advertising to the country to say, right, the Tory party has all signed up to these particular policies, and it's not going great. But just very quickly on that, I mean, look, and people will be completely done with the Tory party. There'll be people that think, right, never again, they shouldn't have a chance. I think over the next 3 years it will become even more clearer that if at the end of the day, at the end of a general election, that, you know, if things aren't clear, there is more in common that the Tory party will have in terms of its values, even if not its policies or even of what it displayed over the last 14 years. There is more in common that the Tory party has with reform, despite what Kemi might say, calling reform, you know, having socialist policies or calling it woke or whatever, and despite, you know, Nigel obviously being quite tough on Kemi at times. You know, don't make perfect the enemy of the good. This country is in a bit of a state.
Very good phrase.
And I think if the choice is at the next election having a centre-right wing government of policies, of which they both are, the Tories and Reform, or allowing another Labour government in through the back door because of votings being split, I think that would be a real regret for this country.
Couldn't agree more.
Keep that in mind.
Hev, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. This is Hev from Kent. What would I take to first survival to a little island or whatever? Ray Mears. What I wouldn't take, any politician. I'd be happily there on my own with Ray, or even just on my own. But yeah, no politicians.
I love this show. She's going to take Ray Mears in her survival kit. This is because apparently there's a danger that you might need one, Putin. Don't worry about it, though. It's just the usual rubbish. Charlie Ruddy, are you going or are you hanging around for a bit? You're going off, are you? We might keep him for 15 minutes before he goes off for his daily sausage. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. It's the Talk Breakfast Show. We're back with Nigel Evans, former Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons, after the news at 7, my friends, which you'll enjoy with great enthusiasm, and we'll see you in 3. I'm off for a wee.
Go to Calais train station?
Yes, train station.
OK. I was gaping. It was brutal. Come on, guys! Ready, 4 times, go on! And they're on the way over to UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back or welcome along. If you're an alarm clock, Brit, you'll have been here from the beginning. Just gone 7 o'clock. It is Wednesday, the 26th of August. This is JK on Breakfast, the home of common sense and the home of you hard-working people. I know, why do we bother? So illegal migrants can have a better life. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. What are you waking up to? You're waking up to great reaction to that incredible, and I mean this, piece of work that Christian Drogan and Isabel Oakeshott did yesterday. Talks world exclusive. Christian Drogan becoming the first ever British reporter to break back into his own country as an illegal migrant. Some of the footage is mind-blowing. You can check the documentary on Talk's YouTube channel. It's getting unbelievable numbers. It won't, of course, be in the mainstream media because they probably wouldn't want you to know. The story is extraordinary. How he did it is extraordinary. And at the end of the day, you will make your own assumptions. But I want to add to that my anger this morning. When I came in, we heard that... You remember this story about Lammy, who was asked to publish the figures of how many crimes were committed by foreign criminals, people who had broken into this country, and he refused to do it. And I remember thinking, nah. Not a good look. Alex Norris has been approached by families of murdered victims and sexual assault victims, and still the Labour Party is saying no. And Charlie Rowley, who's still here, says to me that that's because the government would probably think, oh, you know, if they release them and they're shown to be quite extensive, that could create unrest. And they do it again, don't they? They forget that the British people are switched on, that they know what they're talking about. There's a story today about a Sudanese asylum seeker, and we salute the judge, Judge Mayers, jailed this piece of rubbish yesterday for 25 years. He waited, right, in broad daylight, hidden behind something, for a lone woman to walk down a road in Leeds 2 years ago, attacked her and slashed at her 30 times with a bottle, and then said, I'm mentally ill. He'd been denied asylum in France and sneaked into the United Kingdom. I'm going to keep telling you about these crimes. Why won't the government? 0344 499 1000. Very soon, we're going to find out that the energy price cap's gone up. Really? I thought Burnham had brought it down. Oh, it's broken. What have I got? Let's have some breaking news. Have we got it to push the breaking news thing? The average annual energy bills will rise by 60 quid. For a typical household in October. It's just been confirmed. Energy regulator Ofgem has announced a 4% rise on July's price cap. So they're going up, Charlie Rowley, by £60, and yet Burnham 4 weeks ago stood there as proud as punch and went, I'm saving... We didn't say that. Starmer. I don't know. Like, you know, your money... I can't do his impression. Your bills are being saved by 40 quid. So that was complete BS, and bills have gone up in balance by £20.
Yeah, and, you know, to add, you know, fuel to the fire, you know, they will go up again, I imagine. Ofgem will do the same in January as well. So we'll see two price caps rising, or the cap rising twice, I should say. But you're right, but the government will try and tell us, as we talked about in the last hour, to say, well, hang on, you know, if we didn't step in, if we didn't give you that 5% off VAT, if we didn't step in to bring you to cut £300 off your bills, then you would be paying 60. Even more than what you're paying. So, you know, we've tried.
But his thing isn't coming in till next April, is it? I'd like fact on that. When's his... Christian, if we can find that out. When's Andy Pandy's cut coming in, which is going to be obliterated by this rise? I mean, there could be the fact that this rise starts in October and his thing doesn't start till April. I'd love to know that. You're waking up to that news. You're waking up to... well, what can I say? You know, apparently Andy Pandy's upset... Russia. He's been warned by security expert that Britain faces an impending Russian attack over our support for Ukraine. But don't worry, peeps. Andy Pandy's got it in control. They're warning UK citizens to stock up on tinned food. Here we go again. And take steps to ensure they're prepared for national emergencies as part of a new government campaign to improve our resilience. Well, that'll panic everybody. What are you putting in your survival kit What are you putting in your survival kit? I'd love to hear from you. Can I just say, this reminds me of COVID. When they say tinned food, it gives me nightmares. I've never talked about COVID because I don't want to. I'm sick and tired of presenters still talking about it 5 years on, right? Here's the thing. I literally fell for it and went out. Does anybody know what Heinz Big Soup is? Heinz Big Soup is this watery stuff, and in it are big lumps of potato and carrot and onion and pepper and one bit of meat that looks like it's sort of hanging out the top going, please let me out, I can't breathe. I bought 30 tins of Heinz Big Soup. Literally. I know you're looking at me like, Matt, I was one of those people. And then my mate rang me, he said, M&S is open every morning, Jez. So I just went at 7 o'clock every morning. Didn't change at all. But that's the truth, absolutely. Heinz Big Soup. Let's not get to that. Paul, good morning.
What would I take in my survival kit? I'd probably take some gold sovereigns. So no matter how bad things got, no matter whether there was a nuclear holocaust or whatever, I could still continue somehow to pay my taxes to keep this country going, and those benefit people and migrants in the manner that they are accustomed to.
What a man of the people he is, Paul. You know what I mean? It's important we make sure that the people who come here and pay nothing and treat us like crap actually get treated better than us. Talking about a man who knows how to do... Can I actually give credit? I'm not credit, I'm just fact. Andy Burnham's cut to the energy VAT starts on October the 1st, so they're going to cancel each other out. He's expected to knock 45 off the annual price cap, but that's just gone up. So, yeah, that's what he's going to say. Your bill would have been twice more if I hadn't done that. That's what you're going to say, right? Three times more.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's, you know...
Stop playing politics with us. We're not all stupid.
Exactly.
We're quite switched on. Here's a man who's very switched on. Former Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons. He looked very good in his robes. Nigel Evans, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. Good morning, Charlie. How are you?
I think he's speaking to you.
Oh, very good, yes. Yeah,
Charlie's, he's been sort of elevated, Nigel. He's being booked all over the place, and it's proving a little bit too much for him. Lovely to see you. How's the book going, Nige?
Yeah, very good. I'm off to Helsinki today to do another few chapters, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Do you feel that you have to go to different countries to write? Or you like a travel nomad? You're everywhere.
Yeah, it's because then there's very few distractions, so I stay in the hotel room and just bang on with it. So, you know, it's not as if I get a phone call and say, somebody says, come down to the pub. So,
no, but you'll definitely get a phone call from me saying, come on, talk. So don't worry about that, but that's all right. Mate, first of all, have you had a chance to look at, have you heard about that incredible world exclusive we announced on Breakfast yesterday? Christian Drogan, along with Isabel Oakeshott, he became the first undercover reporter to ever break back into the United Kingdom. Don't know if you've seen it on Talk's YouTube channel. The reaction has been phenomenal, not by the mainstream media, of course, but the French, the duplicity, standing by and then going a mile out and saying, anybody want to get off, and knowing they're smugglers and taking them back, and we're paying £500 million. My people, friends of mine, watched it yesterday and were like, how does that happen? We're being mugged off, aren't we, by the French?
Yeah, and it's not 500 million. It's you're leaving out the bonus for all the good work that they're doing. Yeah, the report was amazing. It did show that the police do pop the odd boat now and again, but it also shows that how useless that is, because of course they just regroup and then get another boat. And I think the biggest take from it has been the gendarmes picking up the people smugglers themselves and returning them to the French coast rather than arresting them. If you really want to break the gangs, that's exactly what you should be doing. But no, they bring them back to the French coast, and then they are able to go off and carry on their illegal trade.
And for people who haven't seen it, and it's astonishing, you touched upon slashing the boat. So we always think, we sit here and we go, we'll slash a boat, Charlie, right? Christian was saying that he got on a boat after days, weeks, months of planning. Patently, the engine wasn't big enough, and he almost felt like it was a setup, because somebody sort of, a gendarme ran and went, oh, we'll slash that one, and then they got off. 24 hours later, they were on another one. But this French, the smugglers, is really interesting. Somebody texted me yesterday and said, well, how would the police know? Because it's the same smugglers every time. They get off the boat and go, oh, I'm feeling sick, I don't understand, and Nigel, you'd know far more than both of us, but why do we continue to allow the French to pull the wool over our eyes? Why are we giving them money that could do so much good in this country for, frankly, doing nothing to prevent something that we're paying them for to prevent?
Well, there's no political will in France, and there's no political will in the United Kingdom. The French don't want to keep these people for obvious reasons. I mean, you mentioned that Sudanese man who got jailed for 25 years. This man was mentally ill. He was being looked after in France because of his mental illness, his schizophrenia, and yet he was allowed to get on a boat, come to the United Kingdom, and then slash a lone woman several times. I think it was 30 times.
Yeah, it was, mate.
And he's now ended up in jail, quite rightly so. But the British taxpayer are now going to be picking up the bill for the next however many years that person remains in jail. I mean, it's absolutely appalling. This is an illicit trade. We simply do not know who are getting onto the boats. I mean, Christian's reporting was absolutely brilliant. No wonder the Home Office have called it reckless. They don't want
do you not know the truth
about
about
what's going on.
Do you not know the truth about that, Nigel? And you would, again, Charlie, you knew this from yesterday. They released a statement saying him as an individual, it was reckless. But 2 hours before that, they'd requested and set up a meeting with him so they can get the information off him that he gleaned. I mean, it's extraordinary.
Yeah. Absolutely, it is two-faced, and we know that the Home Office themselves have now discovered Twitter and TikTok because they put out their own videos to say how wonderful everything is. Even some of the videos with stirring music. I mean, I can't believe it. Instead of devoting their time to making these videos, and you've only got to read the comments afterwards, Jeremy, to know that they're not hoodwinking anybody. The great British public look at these videos and then destroy the contents of those videos and the comments that they leave. Instead of focusing on propaganda and presentation, they ought to be looking very carefully at the video that Christian has provided. They need to talk to him, and then they need to work out what they need to do, and they've got to stop the illicit trade. Stop bringing the people smugglers off the boats and bringing them back to the French coast. They should be arrested in order that these people are not organising the next boat ride to Britain.
Completely agreed. Charlie, you're very powerful on this as well. The Home Office's response yesterday just smacked of, again, what I say becomes, I think, so often we hear now, and I said it earlier, governments seem to treat the British public as if they're not switched on, and I just genuinely think we're far more switched on than we've ever been.
Oh, totally. And look, it's clear that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. If you've got the press office, criticising effectively Christian and saying that journey was reckless, whilst on the other trying to arrange a meeting to get the vital intelligence that he's obviously gathered over the last 14 months, I think it took.
Yeah,
to get
it did, 14 months,
and that would have meant that he was in conversation with a number of smugglers, a number of these criminal gangs who operate on multiple routes, and what was fascinating just about the bits that I've seen, I've got to watch the final bit of it, but the way in which people even get to France through the smugglers and the gangs telling you, right, that's the train that you need to take.
Oh, yeah, and the bus, by the way, that's free, Nigel. The bus that's free to take you to the coast where you can pay. And also, the fact that a lot of them don't pay, they're paying in kind by carrying out criminal activity either before they leave in France, but majoritively criminal activity here. Which brings me on to my bugbear, Nigel. You're much calmer than me. This infuriates me, and I'd love to hear from you. David Lammy refused, when he was the Justice Secretary, to release the figures, murders, sex crimes, whatever, committed by foreign criminals. AM1 don't understand that. Yesterday, the families of the victims of murder and sex assault begged Alex Norris, I should say, the Justice Secretary, to drop plans to use courts to block this data. We were talking about it earlier. You're treating the British people again like mugs, Labour. You're saying, oh, we don't want to release that because it's quite a big number, I presume, and that could fuel. You're going to fuel far more discontent if you continue to treat us like idiots, aren't you?
Yeah, they're public servants, but they're not serving the public. It's quite remarkable. It's very Orwellian, the conversations that we're having today about the things that are emanating from our British government. You just mentioned the electricity cap going up, and yet the government keep telling the public that electricity prices are coming down. Well, you're not going to hoodwink people like that. And by preventing the public from knowing the information about how many foreign illegal immigrants that are coming into the United Kingdom and then committing crimes, you're not going to prevent the British public from getting to glean to know that these illegals are coming into the United Kingdom and committing crimes. Because, fortunately, the channels like yours provide the information that people need to know. I mean, this Syrian who's illegally entered the United Kingdom, has got mental health issues, has attacked a woman and has now ended up in jail for 25 years. Of course the public need to know this, and it's about time the government got a grip. to get a control of the numbers coming into the United Kingdom. We need to know who is coming into the United Kingdom. We need to be able to protect our own borders. And unless the government gets a grip, then we are going to continuously see people coming in on these large boats. I don't even call them small boats anymore. No. When you get 230 on a boat, that's the same size as the aircraft I'll be taking to Helsinki today. And look at the border controls, Jeremy. When people come into Heathrow, your passport, if you're a non-EU citizen, is properly checked. You will be questioned. So, you know, people are coming in on boats, and then they are. And this is the other take from Christian's reporting, is the number of people who have not paid anything. He paid 1,400 to get into his own country, but some people are paying nothing. Why? Because they are part of the slave trade, the modern slavery that is going on. You see some of these people who then get on bicycles to distribute food. So however much they are getting paid by these companies, some of it is being sliced off to then provide money for the people smugglers. This is an absolute illicit trade that is going on, and the government is idly watching it going on. Over 4,000 people have come into the United Kingdom since Andy Burnham became Prime Minister. That is costing each and every taxpayer, alarm clock Britain, many millions. We're paying well over 4 billion a year because of those who are already here. It is absolutely astounding, and yet we hear that there's a maternity home in Barnstaple closed, so people have got to travel 2 hours to give birth to their child. Why? Because they haven't got the money. Why? Because it's being spent on illegal immigrants coming into the United Kingdom. Get a grip, Andy Burnham.
He's so right, isn't he, Nigel? And you can hear it. Listen, you two are much younger than me. Even I struggle here sometimes to imagine where we've got to, where this is the norm. As somebody said here, migrants have everything paid for. My boiler, you know, some people will go, what? Listen to this from Johanna Salisbury. My boiler has been turned off for 2 years. I haven't been on an evening out for years, and I don't drink or smoke or have 50 quid left over for bills. How on earth am I supposed to accept what's happening? That is the reality, and that's what I don't understand, Charlie. You were in power, Nigel. You know. Are all of the Charlie Rowleys idiots? Are all of these politicians completely deaf and blind to what's going on? Why not stand in front of the British people and say, I can't promise to bring your energy bill down because I'm fighting because of this, this and this, but I'm going to try and help. There's going to be a rise in October, so I'm going to try and placate some of that. No, I'm knocking it off. You know, it just doesn't make sense to me. And you said it, Nigel. You went, there's no will. How can there be no will when anybody who actually does this is going to be able to do anything, win power and make a difference? Because the British people, we know what they want. We know what they want. I don't get it.
No, absolutely. And this government is going to pay a price, yeah. I mean, Andy Burnham, I've said he's nothing more than Keir Starmer with a guitar and a T-shirt. I mean, the guy literally does not have the political will in order to stop the boats, otherwise he would. He now knows that they're paying 650 million to the French. There's now footage of the French gendarmes picking up people smugglers and taking them back to the French coast so they can carry on with their illicit trade. So when is Andy Burnham going to pick up the phone to Emmanuel Macron and say, listen, we've been given proof that the French gendarmes are complicit in people smuggling into the United Kingdom. When are you going to stop it? I mean, otherwise stop paying the money. Just stop paying the 650 million and use it to put Navy boats in the channel and turn these boats around.
I had this thing yesterday, you both weren't on the show, about somebody was saying we need to stop this by doing it. I said, somebody said, oh yes, when they arrive we need to detain them. I don't understand, people, right? Why we can't use the Navy and not allow anybody to set foot into the United Kingdom until they are proven to have a right to be there. I would build, I've said it before, a detention centre that isn't the bleeding Ritz, that is actually the realistic truth that you might tell your friends back home we're not the soft touch we are, processed by a crack team of people, and a decision is made very, very quickly. They did it with the Passport Office. I'm sure they could bloody well do it. If there was a will, there would be a way. You're not setting foot in my country, by the way, because the minute you're here, apparently, all your rights under the ECHR mean, and I sound like a stuck record, but every single day, there are hundreds of thousands of people listening to programmes like this going, Why did I get up at 4? Why have I paid my tax? Why have I not broken the law? Why do I do right? That's frustrating, right?
Absolutely. And look, you know, that detention centre might, or processing centre, detention centre, whatever you want to call it, might be absolutely part of the solution. But in the absence of that, and in answer to all of what we've been talking about, the frustration that everybody will feel, and Nigel articulated it perfectly, just the the amount of frustration there is in the country because, and when people don't have the maternity centres, when crime is up, where we don't have, we can't take actual money off people's energy bills. The reason why we don't have any of that is because in the world of Andy Burnham and in the mindset of this Labour government, all these people crossing the Channel are refugees. They are asylum seekers.
Are they, or are they potential votes?
Well,
or is that cynical?
Well,
if you came to this country with no right and you had your backside white, Nigel Evans, you'd sort of say thank you to the man who had allowed it, or woman, wouldn't you?
Of course, and that is the reality. What the Home Office, what the Home Office's videos ought to be saying is that if you come to the United Kingdom, you will be detained, you will be immediately deported to a third country because we've left the ECHR, so the lefty lawyers like Keir Starmer, that they will not be able to prevent these returns, so put them to a third country. And if the people who wanted to come to the United Kingdom knew that that's what was going to happen to them, then that trade would completely disappear. And we forget, yet again, and let's just mention it, these people are fleeing France. France is an absolutely safe country. This year, more than 10 million British people will go to France to take their holidays. Why? Because it's a smashing country. So people getting on boats, fleeing France, are literally, it's the magnet of coming to the United Kingdom because they know that they're going to be properly looked after, unlike many who were born in the United Kingdom who find that they're paying their taxes and not getting any level of service whatsoever because the money is being spent on the wrong priorities.
Mate, you're on fire this morning. I agree with absolutely everything. We hope Helsinki is good. We'll catch up with you. How long are you in Helsinki for, then?
Now, only until Saturday, but it'll mean that I'll bang out another couple of chapters. I'm waiting for the chapter on Jeremy Kyle, don't worry.
All right, Evans, we'll speak off air, don't you start. 7:25, Nigel Evans, Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons, and Charlie Rowley off now to see your agent and glean more work from off my back, I imagine, yes?
Not at all. You've taught me everything I know.
We'll see you next...
Please.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Thank you very much indeed. 7:25, much to come this hour. Robert Jenrick will be here, the Reform Shadow Chancellor. Tony Smith, former head of UK Border Force. It's all happening. 0344 499 1000. Paula, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. It's Paula in Liverpool. Isabel's documentary yesterday got me thinking, what happened to Andy Burnham's listening tour? Where did he go to? Who did he speak to? We never heard anything about it, did we? And I'm just wondering if he went around the country and spoke to people and the main thing they said to him was, we're fed up of immigrants, stop the immigrants, stop the boats, stop paying all these illegals money. I wonder if he just get fed up of speaking to people and that's why I've not heard a thing about it. Thanks, Paula in Liverpool.
go to Calais train station?
Yes, train station.
Okay. I was gaping. It was brutal. Come on, guys! Ready, full fence, go on! And they're on the way over to UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 7:28. We're live across the UK. Talk Breakfast is on. Talk, the home of common sense, the home of alarm clock Brits, and the home of my new protein yoghurt breakfast, which means you don't eat anything, you bloat yourself with stuff that tastes awful, and apparently that means you're not hungry. I hate diets. 0344. Listen, I've got to go on a diet because the TV is beckoning. 0344 400 1000. Text to 87222. What are you waking up to? Just amazing reaction to Talk's exclusive, world exclusive, as Christian Drogan, in conjunction with Isabel Oakeshott, our international editor, became the first British undercover reporter to cross the English Channel in a migrant dinghy. Amazing footage. It's garnered huge response. Please do watch if you haven't. It's available on Talk's YouTube channel. The fallout from it has been spectacular. The mainstream media, not a thing. But it is interesting, and the thing that's really, really hacked me off on the back of this is the government. Although families of victims of murders and sexual assaults have approached Alex Norris, the Justice Secretary, and said, can you please do something that your predecessor David Lammy didn't do and release the figures of how many crimes are being committed by illegal migrants? Labour won't do it. You heard Charlie Rowley say, oh, well, that might stir. No, we're not stupid. We need to know. Let me repeat this story. A Sudanese asylum seeker yesterday was jailed, thank the Lord, for 25 years, and well done to Judge Mayers, for attacking a lone woman in broad daylight, waiting in Leeds behind a car until she walked past, jumping on her, attacking her, and then slashes her 30 times with a bottle and says, I'm mentally ill. Ibrahim al-Bashir arrived in the UK, check this, peeps, only because he'd been thrown out of France, said, I'm mentally ill, you can't jail me, and the judge did jail him. So he's not like Callacane, is he sitting in jail for 40 years, whilst we pay him £1,000 a month in benefits? We need to know who's coming into our country. Let's say a very good morning to Reform UK's Robert Jenrick. Good morning, Mr Jenrick, how are you?
Good morning, very well indeed. How are you?
Oh, my God, that looks quite professional, but you look quite low down. It's all very weird. You're very low down.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. The setup in Sky News isn't as good as at your studio.
Mate, great to have you on. Can I get your reaction before we talk about what you want to talk about? Have you seen the Talk World exclusive, Christian Drogan and Isabel Oakeshott breaking into Britain?
I have, and I thought it was incredibly powerful journalism. Look, it's a total disgrace that it is so easy to get into a small boat and cross the channel that, you know, investigative journalists are able to do it. It just shows why we need to take action. And we all know what that is, isn't it? It's not rocket science. Get the Royal Navy into the channel, task them with turning around every single boat and taking those people back to France.
It's interesting as well, the complicity, if that's the right word, of the French. I don't know, I mean, in it, if people who haven't watched it, go and watch it. I mean, I thought the most shocking thing was that when the boat finally left, and it took Christian 14 months and so much worry and concern and detail to get this done, they stopped a mile out of shore. The French police come along and say, is anybody feeling seasick? Not, we're going to usher the boat back. They say, is anybody feeling seasick? 4 blokes go, yeah, I do, I feel. They jump in the boat. They turn out to be the smugglers, who are then taken back to the French shore by the French police to start the whole process again. And, Robert, we've said this with bonuses. Nigel Evans was just saying it. Over £600 million a year, man. Imagine what good that could do to a country that's crumbling with trillions of pounds worth of debt.
Yeah, it's just so unfair. We've got people suffering right now in our own country. Just take the news this morning that people's energy bills are going to go up by, hundreds of pounds this autumn and winter. And yet all this money is being wasted giving it to the French, who do absolutely nothing. In fact, they're actually laughing at us. I don't know if you remember
Why do you think the government, Robert, you were a government minister, why would a government believe that the British people are going to swallow that? That at times of difficulty with personal bills, the energy bill you touched upon, food 2 or 3 times what it costs for hard-working families, do they think that the British people are stupid by saying, oh, we'll continue to give France 600 billion? I know it's patently obvious if you look at the footage that they're taking the what's it out of us, but we'll carry on because that's the right thing to do. It's not the right thing to do. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, a succession of prime ministers and home secretaries were not prepared to do what was necessary to actually stop the boats. To stop the boats, you need to leave our human rights treaties like the ECHR, detain and deport those who do get to our shores, irrespective of where you send them back to, Afghanistan, Eritrea, doesn't matter. And the lesson that we at Reform have learnt is that even that is not enough, because you know, even that is still very challenging. You've got to actually lance this boil, put the Royal Navy into the channel, and get them to turn back the boats. Will there be an international incident? Yes. But will that finally bring this thing to a head, force the French to negotiate, end this matter within weeks? Yes, I believe it will do. And that's why Nigel Farage has said that that is the Reform approach. And it's the only political party that's willing to do that.
It's interesting that other parties
have... the only way that we'd resolve this.
Other parties have jumped on the Let's Leave the ECHR banner. But yes, Nigel's been quiet. He was on the show yesterday and he was saying that. We look at Tony Abbott in Australia 20 years ago, whenever it was, when he denied access of 900 and something migrants on a boat and said, no, we can't afford it, we're skint. The world recoiled in horror, called Australia every name under the sun. He held a referendum. 90+% of Australians said, yeah, you're right. And the Labour Party, who replaced him with Albanese, have kept the same policy because it's worked. Something has got to give. And the left, Robert, you know this, will jump up and down and say, what about people's human rights? But I am sick and tired, which brings me on, I will talk to you, but it brings me on to the next thing. This refusal of this government...
Just on the point you're making about the ECHR, Jeremy, I think it's important that, look, I was one of the first people to advocate for this within my former party, the Conservative Party. But let's be clear about the limitations of this. It's going to take months to leave the ECHR, months to pass legislation through Parliament. Then you've got to build the prisons, even if they are emergency ones, in which you detain all of these people. The British public aren't prepared to wait months and months or years to fix this problem. What Reform is saying is very different to what the other parties are saying. We're saying day one of a Reform government, Nigel will call the heads of our armed forces into the cabinet room and instruct them to put our assets into the channel and to turn back the boats, so that this issue would not be resolved within months or years, with tens of thousands of more of these people flooding into our country, but it would be resolved within days or weeks. That is a very important difference. I think only Nigel really understands the level of anger and frustration that the British people have. Their patience has snapped. They're not prepared to allow this to continue for a day longer than is necessary.
I completely agree. I asked Nigel this same question yesterday. Is this an invasion, Robert Jenrick?
It is. More people, more men, have crossed the English Channel on small boats than went in the other direction on D-Day. You know, this is tens and tens of thousands of people. And let's be perfectly honest with ourselves, they're almost all young men coming from countries with totally different attitudes to our own, frankly, from medieval countries like Afghanistan. The evidence is mounting that this is leading to an epidemic of rape, of sexual crime in our country. And so setting aside all the other things like the cost of this, the hotels, you name it, people are literally dying. They are being raped. It is beyond belief to me that, having seen everything that we've seen in recent years, our political class have learnt nothing and are willing to allow this to go on. I don't believe they would feel the same way if this was their kids, if those men were hanging out in the playground next to their house.
Absolutely. Very quickly.
Next to their home.
Very quickly, before we come to your thing, I just want to ask you, because this is what I've taken from this, which infuriates me, Rob. David Lammy did it. Alex Norris is doing it. Despite yesterday, families of victims of murders and the sexual assaults you're talking about telling the ministers that this cover-up, this refusal to release figures of foreign criminals committing crimes is an absolute disgrace. I would have thought that any political party would be lead. I think this is an absolutely huge issue. The government, again, I'm not trying to get deep, are treating the British public as if they're stupid. And somebody's patently said, don't release that, it won't look good, it might create a bit of unrest. It's going to create a hell of a lot more unless they're truthful. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, successive governments have covered up the truth about migrant crime. In the last Conservative government, I laid an amendment to a bill going through Parliament that was rejected by James Cleverly when he was Home Secretary and Alex Chalk, who was Justice Secretary. I then brought the amendment back under the Labour government, and the Labour Party voted it down in the House of Commons. And now it seems like the next Justice Secretary, Alex Norris, is also refusing to do it. What I want to see is crime reported regularly by nationality, by visa status, by asylum status, by how you came in to the country, so that we can all see exactly what's going on in this country. I am very certain that it will show that some nationalities are driving the most appalling, abhorrent crimes like rape and sexual assault. And the most important thing is, because this isn't just an academic exercise, once you're armed with that evidence, do something about it. Design an immigration system that keeps the British people safe. That is the duty of the British people, of the British government. And look, if it is that, for the sake of argument, somebody from Somalia is many times more likely to rape someone than a Brit, stop importing people from Somalia. I couldn't care less if no one from Somalia came into this country for years to come. You know, let's just keep the British people safe, for goodness sake.
I completely agree. Now,
I feel people from alien cultures.
I completely agree. I feel somewhat guilty because you came on to talk about something else, which we'll obviously give you time for now. But I do think it's important to get a reform stance on that. I like what you said about the ECHR, and I think that's created so much of interest. It was important to get it. Today, we're going to talk, which is interesting, EU data regulations, GDPR. You say, and does Reform, that these sorts of data regulations are ruining small businesses. We know about NI, we know about VAT, workers' rights. This is another thing that's stopping people being successful.
Well, it's the bane of the life of so many businesses, as well as ordinary members of the public as well. These EU data laws, crazy Brussels regulations, which the UK, in typical fashion, completely gold-plated, have meant that businesses are having to spend thousands of pounds and hundreds of hours protecting themselves from spurious attacks and fines in the way in which they handle data. Of course, we want to protect people's privacy and make sure that businesses don't mess with their data, but it can be done in a sensible, light-touch way, as many other countries around the world have done. So we're taking inspiration from the New Zealand rules, which actually enable businesses to continue trading with the EU unaffected, but which are much, much lighter touch. And that is what a reform government is going to do. It's just one part of a comprehensive plan to protect, to support, to nurture small businesses, sole traders, entrepreneurs who've frankly been battered in recent years by a succession of governments that just don't seem to understand how you build a business, how you manage a business, what it takes to take those risks in your personal life that are necessary to create wealth and jobs and good services and goods that actually get this country going, prospering, thriving in the years ahead.
Good man, Robert. Thank you so much today. I know you've got a busy morning. We always appreciate your time. Robert Jenrick, Shadow Chancellor for Reform UK, 20 minutes to 8 o'clock. Tony Smith, former head of UK Border Force, is on the way. Pete, good morning.
I know I still ain't got me mug yet, and I'm not likely to get me mug, am I? Anyway, do you know what? I hope it's not a blue mug, so because that'd be a Tory mug, and I couldn't be drinking out of that. I'm sorry, I'd have to get the old air rifle out and dispose of that one, wouldn't I? If it was a Labour mug, I'd find something worse to do with that, but otherwise I don't want to block my toilet up for the day. Anyway, have a nice day.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
When it says that Talk's getting an upgrade, I'm not being fired yet, am I, Christian? Do we know about that? I don't know. It's only a matter of time before Charlie Roddy takes over. 0344. I know you'd love that. 0344 419 1000. Text to 87222. Let's say a very good morning to the former head of UK Border Force, Tony Smith. Tony, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy.
Good morning. Have you had a chance to watch Talk's World Exclusive that we launched yesterday with Isabel Oakeshott and Christian Drogan?
You bet. I had it on at 5 o'clock. I watched the thing end to end. I've been watching all the commentary ever since, and I would like to commend Isabel and Christian for a fantastic piece of undercover reporting. Jeremy, I probably wouldn't have been able to say that to you if I was still in my old job. Because
well, I want to make this point, which is why I wanted you on. I thought very interestingly. And Christian's gritty and factual, and it took him 14 months. You would have not missed the fact that he was incredibly complimentary of the UK Border Force facility, that he gleaned very obviously that they were simply doing their jobs and probably shared the massive frustration so many of us feel. And I thought it was good that Border Force portrayed like that, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. I told you before, you know, one of the reasons I'd still do media at my old age is because I do want to defend the officers, Jeremy, and the troops that are out there as we speak, you know, working 24/7 on this. I know people don't like what they're doing, picking up migrants and bringing them in. That does, you know, that's not palatable to your viewers and listeners, but they have to work within the framework of the legislation and the operational instructions they have. I like the comment about you're on the wrong boat, mate, when they picked him up, spotted immediately who he was.
It's good that they did, yeah.
He said some nice things about the Border Force reception. It was very, very thorough, very impressive, very professional. That's all true. And, you know, it's not very often the Border Force get praised in the media. Quite often we get criticised by people who aren't in the know. And I'm very keen that we do say, look, you know, there are all kinds of problems with this. He's highlighted a lot of really useful intelligence. He was debriefed when he came off. I can't say what happens next because I'll still get hung, drawn and quartered by the Home Office. But I think that this is really, really useful intelligence. The difficulty we've got is what are the French going to do about it? And fear is nothing, because even if this is transmitted to the French through diplomatic channels, then I'm afraid we're still going to get the Gallic shrug and, well, look, you know, we're doing what we can. And
but you see, I'm with you, and I'm really pleased that he also talked positively about Border Force. I always think Border Force is a bit like social work. We absolutely, quite rightly, jump on social workers who miss kids and miss terrible things, but there are thousands who do amazing jobs and save lots of kids. When I saw that bloke, and there was no set up for Christian. We didn't know what we were going to get, right? He said you could absolutely sense how frustrated they are. You could say the same to a degree about some judges. I think it's a really, really good point. For me, your French comments, the truth, I don't understand, Tony, right, that successive governments are basically saying, because I think they're blaming us for leaving the European Union. That's my opinion. It's always been, we're going to give you nearly £600 million a year for you to stand there and take the PI what's-it out of us. But I tell you what, we're not going to say anything. We could stop your fishing licences. We could put the Navy in the Channel and drop them back in your country, which you seem quite willing to do to ours because there's no war in your country. What I really do believe is that there is a massive number of people in this country, the political class, the establishment, whatever you want to say, who still hold on to the belief that we should look good in the world, we should be the leaders, we should be the moral arbiters. While we're skint, we're overrun, people who work in institutions feel completely and utterly drained of enthusiasm. And I keep saying it, I want a politician or prime minister who stands up and says, I'm putting Britain first. And this is not benefiting us. You're leaving, and I'll do it however I have to do it, and I'll take whatever bloody flack I have to take afterwards. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I'm really, you know, taken by the pictures of the state of northern France now. I went over there many moons ago when we were working with the French, and it was a lovely part of the world, lovely little villages and restaurants and places where, you know, very good tourist area. This is a huge stretch of northern France now around the Pas de Calais that is completely lawless. got criminals running around there with guns. The French police don't seem powerless to do anything. And I mean, what we really need is a French government that recognises the state of a part of their country that has descended into complete lawlessness and wants to fix it, because we can help them with that. And that's what I'd like to see. It can't be in the French people's interest to have increasing numbers of longer stretches of beaches and coastline occupied by French criminals, really, avowed asylum seekers, criminal gangs, organised crime, clearly rife right along that whole area. Now, imagine if that was happening down in Kent or on the south coast or something. We'd be all over it, Jeremy. We'd have everybody down there, the police, the border force, immigration enforcement, NCA, would be nicking people, find out what they're up to. The French have just got this attitude, well, you know, there's nothing more we can do. It's very, very frustrating.
I don't think they've ever forgiven us for Brexit. I'm being completely honest. People can laugh at me. I'm with you. I want politics. I mean, the Home Office's response to Christian Drogan just about sums up what British government's about. I don't know if you picked up on this. Within 5 minutes of the programme dropping, we got a statement saying this is reckless. These individuals put people at risk, and we've got a very good relationship with the French, and they're doing really well. He then opens his gob and says, you do realise last night when we had to open up about this before it went public, the Home Office have already arranged to meet me so I can give them the information I've got. The left arm doesn't know what the bloody right arm's doing, Tone. Not at all. Not at all.
The way that machinery works is that, you know, press releases come out from having been approved by special advisors to the government. They don't like certain things coming out, and that will be nuanced, if you like, in a way that suits the government line. I don't see that he's caused any damage personally to anything that the Home Office are doing or the Border Force are doing by what he's done. In fact, I think he's provided a service personally. In some of that footage is really gold, you know, in terms of intelligence that would be very, very useful. We have got a very good intelligence gathering operation. He's acknowledged that, and I'm hoping that the material he's got will lead to some, you know, some interventions where we will be able to catch some of these people and stop them. But the bottom line is, as you say, you know, why is it that we're being treated like this by the French? Why is it they won't cooperate with us? Why can't we have joint patrols on French beaches? Why can't we have joint patrols on the Channel? Why can't we work together? And if we pick them up on their side or our side, why don't we detain them and deport them from Britain and France? You know, part of the deal is we're building a detention centre in France for them to arrest people like this, take them into French detention and deport them from the whole of the EU. And we were offered to help them with that. But I'm afraid the political climate seems to me, in France anyway, and probably a lot of the EU, is it's a laissez-faire attitude to illegal immigrants. They're given a notice to quitte, to leave the Schengen zone, and that's it. And they're left to their own devices in the hope that they will just give up because they're being treated largely by as vagrants and not being given hardly any support. And so you can see why some people in France, well, why won't we let them go to the UK then? We don't need them here. But that's not working. That hasn't worked. They're getting more and more numbers, I think your report said. Very large numbers of people now massing right along that French coastline. That can't be good for France either, surely, let alone for us.
Mate, brilliant. Love having you on. And I'm really pleased, and I mean this, that it was able to show the work that Border Force do under very tough conditions. Great to have you on. Tony Smith, former head of UK Border Force. Let's say a very good morning to retired Scotland Yard Detective Chief Inspector Mike Neville. Morning, Mikey. How are you?
Yes, good morning, Jeremy. I'm well.
I have a real bugbear on the back of that talkTV World exclusive. I can't pay enough tribute to it. I seethe with anger that even yesterday, again, the new Justice Secretary, Alec Norris, refuses, like Lammy did before him, to listen to the families of murder victims and rape victims and release the numbers of, well, the figures that tell us how many people who are here illegally are raping and murdering and attacking British people. Why, in the name of God, Mike, would the government not tell us the truth? Because the British people are fed up. They're not stupid, man.
They are. It's a scandal, Jeremy. And it goes back in 1995. I did a part-time degree, and I revealed the ethnicities of those involved in street robbery. And that was released by the Commissioner, Sir Paul Condon at the time, and he was set about by the establishment for telling the truth. For decades, the establishment has tried to cover up the truth about crime, who's committing it, when they're committing it.
Why, Mike? Why?
Because they have a dream of a multicultural society, and when you release stats that show that certain ethnic groups commit certain offending, then it breaks down the dream. If you listen to Trevor Phillips, the excellent journalist, he did a programme about how different races commit different types of crime, exposing it. But the establishment don't want to hear this. What they want to say that every race, every type of people commit the same levels of crime. And what they're asking us to do is, like 1984, is defy the evidence of our own eyes. And one of the big bugbears I have is when they say, oh, you can't stereotype. We know that psychologists say one of the things that humans use to keep themselves safe is stereotyping. So if you look at a tube carriage and you see a load of Chinese guys reading the Bible, and on the other side of it, on the other carriage, you see a load of guys in hoodies, and you think, you know, for my safety, I'm going to get in with these guys reading the Bible. Now, you may be wrong, but only 1 out of 99 times will you be wrong. And they've used this argument to stop people seeing.
But no, I get that. But what I have a real issue with is, and I don't know what's changed. I don't use COVID. Everybody else seems to use COVID. But the British people are so knocked down with the unfairness of what's going on. They won't be taken as fools. I find it astonishing that nobody in politics thinks it would be a good idea to be honest. They'll tell me that you're mad, Carl. How can you be honest with the British people? I remember somebody I think it was Jenrick, telling me that he sat in a shadow cabinet meeting and said Britain's broken. And they went, well, it might be, but don't tell her because they might blame us for it after 40 years. It is bloody broken. Britain is broken.
They'll feed us the line of Welsh choir boys and things like this, not mentally ill Norwegians. You see it time and time. And it's not just in this country, Jeremy. This is the whole Western establishment. I was over in Cologne in 2015 dealing with the sex attacks committed on New Year's Eve by asylum seekers there. The first 3 days of that were spent by the German authorities trying to cover it up until the victims revealed all the mobile phone footage. And you see the same in Sweden. They've spent decades trying to cover up the criminality of immigrant gangs in Sweden. Sweden's got one of the most bombed places on the earth. It's worse than Belfast in the 80s. Why would they cover it up? Because they're pursuing their dreams like they are religion. They believe it with religious zeal, that there should be multicultural, diverse.
To the detriment of the safety of your own people. That's an abdication of governmental responsibility, isn't it?
But this is what they do. I'm afraid, as I say, my personal experience, having released those figures in 1995, is that the authorities will just jump on anybody who tells the truth. It's an absolute scandal. And we need to push this all the time. I know we've taken them to court about this. I mean, the government is prepared to spend tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pounds on legal costs to cover up the truth about who is committing crime in this country. Who would want to do that? Why wouldn't you want to say, this is the truth and this is what we're going to do about it? But they don't want to do that.
To me, it's... You know, I was quite interested in that film, in the way the border police were shown to behave. We spend a lot of time criticising the police, and I think it's right that we call out the problems that there are. But there are a lot of men and women who work very, very hard and must be very frustrated by a system that seems, in many instances, to... I bet policemen and women who have had to deal with these crimes and prosecute them and put in the long hours are as frustrated as the rest of us. It doesn't make any sense to me. The police is... I mean, forget police morale. I don't know about that. You'd know more. But the perception of the police is probably, would it be unfair to say this, at an all-time low in this country? So give them something to work with, man.
Absolutely. I mean, the trust and confidence in the police is at all-time low. You got officers out there. We've seen the 2 officers killed on duty. Yeah. Officers out there risking their lives, facing daggers and guns, and also people driving the wrong way down the motorway at them. So brave officers, but it's not the officers at the bottom. They're told what to think. It's like the officers who attended the Henry Novak scene. Yeah. They want to prosecute those officers. It's not the officers. We don't need sacrificial lambs at the bottom. It is the senior officers who follow the establishment line on this and cover things up. And the police, the College of Policing, which issues the training, brainwashing officers into thinking that they're racist and things like that. But as I say, you can't help the evidence of your eyes. You only see... I know who was committing crime in Clapham and Brixton when I was a young officer. I could see it. And that's why I did the report. But of course, the report doesn't fit the agenda, so the report is crushed. And I've seen senior officers rip out pages of reports which tell the truth. It's just wicked.
It's always great to have you on, mate. We share a school for our children. We love the man. Thank you, Mike Neville, retired Scotland Yard Detective Chief Inspector, talking about how this Labour government refuses still to release figures of how many foreign illegal immigrants who have come here are committing crime, because that might upset us. No, we want and demand the truth. It's almost 8 o'clock. Weekly, we have him, Dan Hodges from the Mail and the Sunday Mail, will with us, discuss everything, particularly that Talk World exclusive. If you haven't seen it, it's on our YouTube channel. Brilliant. Isabel Oakeshott and Christian Drogan, the first undercover reporter to break into his own country. News at 8 next.
Go to Calais train station?
Yes, train station.
Okay. I was gripping it. It was brutal. Come on, guys! Ready, full touch, go on! And they're on the way over to UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
The entire city is being overwhelmed, and there are people who bear direct responsibility. Those responsible are the national government, led by Pedro Sanchez and his ministers, as well as Mr. Marlaska, and of course, the European institutions, which have completely failed in what's supposed to be the European Union's external border.
Which country in Europe wipes everybody else's backside but its own people? Here.
Well, Morocco, of course, is hosting the next World Cup. I mean, are we suggesting that...
Oh, don't start me on the World Cup. We'll get
the country that's hosting the next World Cup is too unsafe. It's so unsafe.
Oh, great point.
People have to cross continents to come to Europe, and of course, I have seen personally examples of this. People come from Morocco into Spain, across to the mainland, up France, through the south of France, up to the north of France, where they reach Calais and then eventually come to the UK.
It is a cause for concern, and we are making contact with the Spanish government, the Spanish authorities, to provide support, but also to understand the implications of that situation.
Some of you might remember a poster I put out 10 years ago called Breaking Point, where I showed vast numbers illegally breaking into the European Union. I made the point that if we vote for Brexit, we'll have the power to stop those people coming here. Sadly, the Tories failed us, Labour have failed us. Believe me, unless we get a reform government, those scenes you're seeing in Spain today, many of those young men, lots of them dangerous, will be heading towards Calais and coming to our country too. It is time to wake up. This is a battle for the future of our civilization. I can't put it any more plainly than that.
When you look at what happened to Spain, they don't know what to do. And it's happening again today. They're coming in by the tens of thousands. They're just invading the country. And what that is weak law, bad management, but very liberal law. They passed a couple of laws, and people read. You know, people are smart. They read from other countries, and they swam that 3-mile sweat wall, however they got in, but nobody's seen anything like it. That will look good compared to what's going to happen to the United States. The biggest thing, the worst thing that Biden did is allowing 25 million people into our country.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back or welcome along. If it's welcome along, where the hell have you been? We've been here since 6 o'clock, me and all those alarm clock Brits. Thanks for tuning in to Talk. It is, of course, the home of common sense, and it's where your views on the day's news are always welcome. Wednesday, the 26th of August. What are you waking up to? Well, massive reaction to our world-exclusive documentary yesterday. Isabel Oakeshott, our international editor, and Christian Drogan, who became the first British undercover reporter to cross the English Channel in a migrant dinghy and break into his own country. Extraordinary footage. The French have so much to answer for. The governments have so much to answer for now and in the past. We'll talk more about that. If you haven't seen it, by the way, Invading Britain, the Undercover Migrant Returns, the documentary available now on Talk's YouTube channel. Fantastic. On the back of that, we discovered today that the Labour Party under Burnham, again, like under Starmer with Lammy, are refusing to release figures of how many crimes are committed by illegal migrants, the families of murder victims and sexual assault victims, begging the government to be more transparent. But they say no. We'll talk about that because that's infuriating you. I'll give you an example. And I want to salute a judge for a change. Judge Mayers yesterday, a Sudanese asylum seeker, finally jailed by a judge with common sense for 25 years for attacking a lone woman in Leeds, hiding behind a car in broad daylight when he saw her, attacked her and then slashed her 30 times with a bottle. Now, I don't know what you think, as the judge jailed him yesterday and said, I'm not falling for this mental health thing. You can have mental health help, but you are going to prison for 25 years. He'd been denied political asylum or economic asylum, whatever you want to say, in France, managed to come to Britain, commits that crime, and I'm not being unfair when I say this because I try and be balanced. The government of today, and yesteryear, by the way, don't want you to know about that. That's outrageous. 0344 499 1000. Lisa, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. I watched Isabel Oakeshott and Christian's thing on YouTube yesterday or last night. Very good watch. Shocking, even more shocking. You sort of don't think you can get any more shocked till something else happens. But to me, it just proves actually that it's not really going to be that long that anyone can come into the UK. You really aren't going to need any passport controls at all anymore. You know, I mean, they're not even asking really for any money. So you can have any gangster, any murderer, anyone you like coming through, getting on that boat, landing on our shores.
And I think that's a really important point, because one of the things that came out of that documentary was that the driver of the boat, if that's what you call a coxswain, captain, whatever, spoke Farsi. And Nigel Farage had said some weeks ago, to complete derision, that there was concern that Iranian operatives, people from foreign countries with terrorist ambitions, are coming into this country. We have to be able to know. Let's say a very good morning. I love this man. I love having him on. We have a great debate. Dan Hodges, how are you, my friend?
Morning. Very good. You?
Yeah, good. Lots to talk to you about. Firstly, you're going to tell me you haven't. Have you seen that documentary we put together?
I've seen clips of it. I haven't seen the whole thing. I've got to be honest, but I've certainly seen the clips of it.
It's garnered extraordinary response, but I'm going to give this to you. 5 minutes after we launched it yesterday at 7 o'clock, the Home Office released a statement saying that Christian Drogan and the whole thing was reckless, that we put people in danger, we're making it more difficult for law enforcement officers to stop and boost, small boat crossings and save lives. And they then went on to laud their relationship with the French. It's stronger than ever. We're getting there with a new deal. We've got 40% uplift in boots on the ground. Together, we're piling the pressure on gangs and preventing illegal and dangerous crossings, blah, 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 which tends to be not really what's true. But you might laugh at this as a journalist. Christian Drogan then says to me, well, that's interesting, because 2 hours ago they contacted me for a meeting so I can go and share the information with them. When's anybody going to organise the Home Office properly, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to that. I mean, firstly, the criticism of the journalist, you always get that if, as a journalist, you conduct any sort of undercover operation. Obviously, it was, excellent and very necessary and very important journalism. And actually, I wrote about this at the weekend. This is kind of just what we're getting from all sides at the moment. Journalists are getting attacked from across the political spectrum, and that just comes with the territory.
Of course it does.
On the other side, though, for balance, and it is important when we're talking about this, and I've said this before, where the government says we are currently seeing a significant drop in numbers from what we saw last year and what we've seen in previous years, that's absolutely right. So something is happening, and something that is being done somewhere in relation to this issue is at last starting to have some sort of effect. But I think the key thing is we need to try and find out what that is, so we can continue to do more of it.
I agree with that. I'm not really interested in politics in this instance. I don't think it's about who says it or what says it. I want acknowledgement that there is an issue, acknowledgement that the French are taking the out of us with the money and just standing and allowing this to happen. But also, I thought the piece was clever, accurate, that it did something that I haven't heard at all. It complimented British Border Force and implied very strongly that what they suffer from is they have to work within the confines of rules that are as frustrating for them as there are for people who watch and listen to programmes like this. Do you answer me this, because you'd know more than me. On the back of that programme, what's infuriated my viewers and listeners this morning, Dan, is we hear that, you heard me say in the introduction, families of murder victims and rape victims from illegal migration over a number of years, not just under this government, over a number of years, do not understand why this Burnham government is like Starmer's government, this time the Justice Secretary Alex Norris, is refusing to release figures of crimes committed by foreigners. Now, we know talk about a multicultural society and being fair to everyone. That is a fundamental political error, isn't it? Because the British people, I think they deserve, but more than that, I think they want the truth now, and I think they're going to demand they get it. Why is it being covered up?
Well, I mean, whether or not it's a political error, I mean, it can't be justified.
No.
I mean, because whatever side of the argument you come on, and this is, I think this is the point I would make. We constantly get the argument that in relation to the immigration debate, it is a debate that is governed exclusively by emotion rather than by fact. I think there is some truth in that in certain areas. Fine, but then we need the facts. If we want to have a fact and evidence-based debate about all this, then the facts need to be published, and they need to be published warts and all, and whether the figures would support the arguments of those who are wanting tougher measures in relation to migration, or whether they would support the arguments of those who want a more liberal immigration stance, is frankly irrelevant. We need that, as in all instances, wherever possible, we need the fact. I cannot see, unless there's some, I mean, but
it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't make any sense. What I was going to say is, unless there's some technical reason you can't gather the data, but I don't see any reason why it is not possible to gather the data.
I mean, you're a journalist of high repute, and I can ask you, because I'm not, right? I get why I am, but to me, I go, so these government ministers have human beings in their ears who go, probably best not to release that. Does anybody not actually say, Minister, if you don't release that, in the country and the world we now live in, where people are really struggling, where it's really hard, and actually I think more people are invested in the political issues because they are so affected in their lives, high taxation, debt, the problems socially, everything that we know about, nobody whispers in a minister's ear, this is going to cause even more carnage unless we're open and honest about it. Open and honest, and then deal with it. Give a solution to the bloody problem, because you're hiding it.
OK, trying to look at it, just to literally answer the question, trying to look at it from the minister's perspective. So let's say, for example, what I've just said about small boat numbers.
Yep.
The facts are small boat numbers are down significantly. Almost.
Are they? Are they really?
Yes, they are. If you look at the figures, I think at the moment they're down. I think the latest figures I saw, they're down 40% on the numbers there were last year, and they're the lowest they've been for 4 or 5 years. Now, to look at the debate we've all been having about small boats over the last month or so, you wouldn't know that, and in a sense, the figures in relation to small boat numbers are being drowned out by the broader debate. So, from the minister's perspective, what the ministers might be saying is, look, what's the point of pointing out the figures, even if the figures show that there is not a significant disproportionate amount of crimes committed by migrants and asylum seekers? People will just seize on those figures where there were crimes and run with those. That is what it may be how they're looking at it. But as you accurately pointed out, that's not what's happening, because what's happening is, where there's a vacuum, people are just filling in the vacuum themselves. And they're saying, first of all, it's quite clearly a conspiracy and a cover-up.
Yeah.
And secondly, they're saying the reason why the government isn't pointing out these figures is because the figures are absolutely so atrocious and appalling that if we...
And I can't understand why
there would be a public uproar.
Completely.
So in basic political and communications terms, you're absolutely right. It's not achieving... No. Anything in relation to the government.
And I think also what you said about figures, I don't know, and I'm being completely straight, we don't even need to debate that, everybody's got an opinion, but I would say this, it doesn't matter, actually, whether it's 40,000 a day or 400 a day. The British people know and see and are aware that there are people unvetted coming into this country. And when you as a government, and I have to talk about the government, you were amazing when it came to Starmer. Nobody thought that you'd be as critical, and we did some great work. I'm still out, the jury's out on Burnham, we'll talk about him in a sec. But when you release a document, right, that says this is how not to rape women or abuse children if you come to this country, just so you're aware. If you see documentaries like ours where people are coming in, the fact is this has been going on for a long, long time. And what I want to say to politicians of all sides, right, you can come up with your plans, you can talk about the ECHR, you can talk about the Royal Navy, you can talk about sanctions, you can talk about this and you can talk about that. There is a feeling, Dan, amongst your readers, amongst my listeners, amongst millions of people in this country, that somebody's going to have to do something very, very soon. Whatever that might be, that this is getting worse and worse in people's minds, that nobody seems to be able to stand up and give us the truth and say, this is what... I keep saying this. We've always been a country, and I'm proud of it, am-ish, that did the right thing by everybody else. I sort of think we're at a time where the British people increasingly will demand that its government, whatever the colour of that government, I hate this, so forgive me, puts the British people first. I don't want to sound Trump-esque, but I genuinely believe that.
You don't need to apologise.
No, but I genuinely believe that. But people will jump on what I've said and they'll say you're using words, but I mean it.
No, I get that. But this goes back to the point I was making. I mean, and you said it there. You said the perception of the public is getting worse. As I'm saying, in terms of the numbers that are coming in, the numbers we're looking at, there does at the moment seem to be an improvement. Now, you rightly say, well, most people will say, look, if it's down a half, it's still far too many. The reality is, if one person is getting into the country who is undocumented, and as you said on the boats, you don't know who's coming into the country, they could be anyone, they could be an asylum seeker, but they could equally be a terrorist. That's one too many. So no one is expecting people to say, oh, pat the government and say, oh, absolutely fantastic. It was 200,000 people came in last year, it's 100,000 this year, well done, or whatever it is. No one's arguing that. But the point you made is the key one. People want the government to do something, right? And I think, frankly, you're right. I don't think they care what political persuasion the government is. No. They want something to be done. Now, I'm simply pointing out the government has been putting in measures over the last 12, 24 months to try and tackle this issue. The numbers are significantly down. So somewhere, something is happening. Could just simply be... What
measures have they put in? Help me out, mate. What have they done?
Well, the key thing the government has been doing, I wrote about this, is obviously they did away with the Rwanda scheme, which obviously never actually started because it was such a shambles. But what they put much more focus on and much more resources into was trying to target the gangs themselves. So targeting the gangs across Europe, targeting the movement of the gangs across Europe, and in particular targeting the infrastructure. So impounding the boats, impounding the engines that drive the boats. And there is evidence that's having some success. That's why we saw the huge, almost like jumbo jet boat chugging across.
But that, with respect, that would be I'm not being petty here, mate. I read something, I think it might have even been in your newspaper, that when people jump up and down and say there are less boats, there's now bloody bigger boats bringing 230 people at a time, not 4 boats.
But the point is that the smugglers are having to adapt their models because the supply of boats is drying up. So that is possibly, I'm not saying it's definitely, but that is possibly some area where it's having an effect.
But you also said Rwanda, and by the way, can I just say this actually? Rwanda, no, I wasn't a fan. Patently, the Tories, they had an idea and it wasn't implemented quick enough. I've always been somebody who sat there and gone, why can't we do this ourselves? Create a crack team, build a deportation centre and get it sorted. But I'm not wrong in saying, because again, I remember this from last week, the Labour Party did say Rwanda was a shambles and they got rid of it on day one. Last week, Shabana Mahmood, it was told, it was reported everywhere, is considering creating a relationship with another country to deport people there. I would say to Labour and Tory, why the hell can't you do it yourselves?
And I remember speaking to people working for Keir Starmer, in which they were saying, look, Rwanda, for whatever reason, the Rwanda deal didn't work, and as we know, it was a shambles, and in the end, I think 3 people left, and we had to pay them God knows how much. But I think again, you're right, and I think the government has recognised this, and I think there is a bit of politics involved here. Obviously, the Rwanda scheme was seen to be such a shambles. Labour in opposition thought, well, we'd be idiots not to kick 7 bells out of this scheme because it's obviously not working. So that's where the political game plan comes in. But I think broadly, as I said, I think there is some evidence that the targeting of the gangs is working. But ultimately, the only way I think you stop this is you destroy the gangs' sort of basic model. And the way you do that is you do need some sort of Rwanda-style scheme. And I remember when the government was implementing the Rwanda scheme at the beginning, I was writing this and saying, good, I think this is what is required. Got absolute pelters from people on the left. But the reality is, I don't see a situation, I don't see a fundamental solution to this problem that does not involve us being able to say, in a way similar to what actually ultimately and fundamentally worked in Australia, where people who were trying to get to Australia were basically dumped in an island offshore.
Yeah, but hold on a second, because I interviewed Abbott.
Come here, that is where you're going to end up.
But I interviewed Abbott, and this is the whole crux of the matter, right? For example, a couple of mentions for you, because you know what I think. You, Steve from Mansfield. Morning, Jess. Dan Hodges may be correct about the boat numbers coming down, but no mention from you two of the immigrant villages on the North French coast that are growing massively on a daily basis. Where the hell do we think they're going to go? Let's talk about Tony Abbott and France, Dan, because I interviewed him for a special 2 years ago. When Tony Abbott said to a boat of 917 refugees or people seeking asylum, let's have that straight because he made such an analogy, he said, I'm really sorry, we've got no housing, my health service is crap, stuck to the roof, rafters, my education system is in real trouble, you can't come in. They were sent to an island off Australia, and the world, including the British press, went, oh, my God, this is horrific. He's a horrible, horrible human being. He held a referendum some weeks later, and 93% of Australia said maybe it wasn't a good look, but that's the right thing to have done for the indigenous population. Very interesting to me that 4 years later, when Tony Abbott was replaced by a Labour Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, who's still in power, the Labour side, which I'm talking about why it shouldn't be politics, has kept the same policy. I can't remember, I think it might have been Nigel Evans on earlier. I think all of us, whatever side of the fence we sit, are aware that very soon something large is going to have to happen. Somebody is going to have to make a decision that is unpopular with half of us, popular with the other half, isn't kowtowing. I don't know, but it is not... let's not get an argument about how many boats or how many people. The fact is, they're still coming. They're coming, and for the first time, I think, in our history, and people always talk COVID, I'm talking about cost of living. I think your average hard-working Brit down the people you write for, the people I broadcast for, have suddenly gone, nah, sorry, mate, we've done all of that, and we feel it's unfair, and you better do something about it. That's not stoking up anything. That's being honest about how people see and feel about the things and the pictures they hear and see.
I think that's right. But I mean, as I was going to say, I mean, you touched on it. The point about the Australia scheme is it worked, and I think that is the. I saw you had Nigel. I think it was yesterday. Wasn't it? Yesterday or Monday, Nigel was talking about Reform's daft proposal to. Invade France, which is just not a workable solution. And he was. I
don't think he said invade, did he? Didn't say invade. He said put the people back.
But that's what the policy is. We get the Royal Navy is going to basically go to France and start landing.
No, he said that the Royal Navy would take people back rather than to England. France. They would take them back to France. What's the difference between that and the?
If the French were bringing, if the French Navy were bringing, or another foreign navy was landing on the British coast and dumping people on our shores, whoever they were, we would regard that.
But they're coming halfway, aren't they? Because they're being ushered by French authorities.
But that's the thing. But what I'm saying is, he was claiming. Abbott had the pushback policy and it was massively successful. There was an attempt at a pushback policy by the Australians, but that wasn't the mechanism that was effective. What was effective was the offshore processing and the offshore, if you like, for want of a better word, incarceration. And I'm agreeing with you. I think that's what's going to have to work. We are going to need to secure an agreement with somewhere else and to be able to say, look, this is what the Australians said. They said, you will not get to Australia. They had this huge campaign. I was looking at this yesterday, the leaflets, the brochures.
I remember it all.
You will not get in. And that is what we are.
And that's the message. And this is my thing about being a soft touch. I mean, I'd go further to the point that probably even Farage wouldn't. I don't see this obsession with a third world country. I don't see how a country that has what we have and have done what we've done cannot find a processing centre, detention centre, somewhere in the Scottish Highlands. Don't shout at me, Scotland, I'm not being disrespectful. That isn't a four-star hotel, Dan.
I'll shout at you, but I mean...
No, and I'm Scottish. Where do you think Carl comes from? What I'm saying is, if we cannot train a crack team... I was so taken with that episode about how he complimented Border Force, who are frustrated, hard-working men and women who are frustrated by the rules that are in place. If we cannot... And stop this... Oh, the minute you set foot in this country, a Tory said to me the other day, you will be detained. The minute you set foot in this bloody country, you can wrap yourselves in ECHR law. Go into the sea, but maybe with the French, I don't know, Border Force, the Navy, whatever. Take these people humanely to a processing plant, to a detention centre, and yes, absolutely, if you have got the credentials, the paperwork and the justification for coming here, war-torn, France isn't war-torn, 7 countries, we've done all that, but if not, you are going to be sent back to your country. And whether my Prime Minister spends months and years arguing for relationships, as Sunak did with the Albanians, and 10,000 illegal, foreign criminals from there were taken back to Albania. Whatever it takes, I just think, and I know we all agree in essence, something like that won't be popular with all has to be done, because if it isn't, I don't know where this ends up, Dan. Don't know where it ends up.
But I think you've put your finger on it. I think the unpopularity of whatever solution is put in place is at the heart of it. It has to be, not for reasons of vindictiveness, it has to be a scheme that directly disincentives those who are seeking to this country for coming. And the problem we have is those who are seeking to come to this country in many instances are incredibly, incredibly desperate people. We had a case at the start of this week, it was an inquest, of someone who had died trying to get to the UK because they'd stowed away in the landing gear of an aircraft coming from, I can't remember the country, in Africa, and they'd frozen and suffocated at altitude. Now, when you're dealing with people who are that desperate to get here, the measures you're going to have to put in place to disincentivize them are by definition going to have to be, and be perceived to be, very, very harsh.
I mean, I take that, but I take that, but I would counter, and we have to finish. The Sudanese asylum seeker yesterday got jailed for 25 years because he waited behind a car in broad daylight for a woman in Leeds, attacked her, probably sexually, slashed her 30 times with a bottle and said, "I'm mentally ill." He'd been denied asylum, Dan, in France and got here. So you're right, there's the both ends of the coin, but we've got to, I think, essentially, all of us, come up with some plan and do it. Mate, lovely, seriously, appreciate the time, always appreciate it. Thank you so much. Dan Hodges, commentator on the Mail on Sunday, loads to cram in this out. Peter Harris, the Reform Councillor, the head of Essex Council, who got into that Wethersfield Essex holiday camp called a detention centre. He's next on Talk Breakfast.
Go to Calais train station?
Yes, train station.
Okay. I was gaping. It was brutal. Come on, guys! Ready, full fence, go on! And they're on the way over to UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Just gone 8:30. Rory, good morning.
Morning, Jez. Rory from Harpenden here. Jez, I'm so sick of this boat nonsense. It would be so easy to stop them if we just had the will. They're breaking about 3 maritime laws, letting boats into the water that are not seaworthy for the journey. They need radios, they need flares, they need a life raft. They have none of that. They're giving them the life jackets that they need. They're breaking the Schengen border protocol where they're allowing people to move from one European country to the other without documents. They are breaking United Nations protocols by letting people cross borders without going through checks. There's just so many laws that they're breaking on. But the main one is they are people smuggling. And that human trafficking is one of the biggest crimes in the world, and yet nothing can be done.
Well, I'd be going to the French and saying you are aiding and abetting people smuggling and we're paying you 600 million. Rob, quickly, boats may be down, Jez, but the boats are now bigger and effectively the number of people crossing remains the same, if not more. Exactly what I said to Dan Hodges. 4 boats carrying 50 people each is the same as those massive ones carrying 200. This is interesting from Claire near the Cotswolds. It's very, very... You might be near Harry and Meghan soon. Morning, Jez. I know you respect him, but Dan Hodges is wrong in this. The number of illegals crossing to the UK is down, but only because because less people are crossing Europe. Currently, the figure crossing Europe is down by 40%, so it's no coincidence. Rogers in Chichester. JK, we should not be placing illegal immigrants in British jails. They should be deported, full stop. Couldn't agree more. And then we have the whole thing. Where are you going to deport them to? Back to the bloody country they came for. People come here, let's send them out. I want to say good morning to a top man. Peter Harris, Reform UK leader of Essex County Council. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Jeremy. Very happy after the win by the mighty Hammers last night.
Are you a West Ham fan, mate? Honestly.
Of course.
Well, we've started supporting really small things like beating Southampton in the Carabao Cup. Good man. I have to say, Pete, I thought yesterday your article that came out and your piece today, page 10 of The Sun, just about sums up where we're at. You, as the leader of Essex County, bet they're glad they let you in, managed to get into this Wethersfield, well, let's call it a holiday camp, which houses 800 male migrants. And if you look at the Sun today, a gym, a footy pitch, a sports hall, snack bars, free minibuses. This isn't a migrant facility. It's a bloody holiday camp. Were you shocked by what you saw, mate?
I was deeply concerned before I went into the camp on things that I'd heard, and I was aghast. I couldn't really believe what I was seeing as I was walking around. Excuse me. And it was literally like a holiday camp. There were facilities there that some communities would only they'd long for, with the fully equipped gymnasium, large gymnasium there, the internal sort of sports fitness centres, where we were told that previously that some of the inmates were or residents are martial arts experts, and indeed that there was currently a UFC person there training, a UFC fighter. And there were many young fit men. In fact, they were all men, all young, aged between the ages of 18 and the oldest, I would say, is late 30s, maybe 40 years old. All enjoying themselves, all having fun, all lots and lots of tellies around, which I'm told that they all enjoyed themselves while they watched the World Cup, with a snack bar behind them, so they could really enjoy themselves there. And I think the only thing that they are disappointed about being on there is that in the suggestion box, which is there, the request was for a swimming pool. So, maybe, the government will add to it. But they've already spent, I believe, somewhere in the region of £60 million on the site, refurbishing the site. And, the matter is it's going to get worse. The 800 migrants that were said to be on site when we attended, although we only saw about 150, we also saw brand new accommodation, modular accommodation, brand new beds, waiting for that number to increase up to 1,245, a 55% increase in the numbers. So, it's okay for Dan Hodges to say that, the problem is going away. And it's not in Essex, let me tell you. They're gearing up for even more migrants. And the surge capacity of the site is for 1,700 migrants. And the problem is getting worse. We're getting more and more men bussed in the 17 minibuses that take migrants into Braintree, Chelmsford, Colchester on a daily basis, including Christmas Day. I asked that specifically, and they confirmed, yes, even on Christmas Day, they bus men into those town centres to do what God only knows, apart from mill around, upsetting our residents and making them very concerned. And I am deeply concerned about the safety and welfare, particularly of our women and children. It's not acceptable, and we need to do something about it. That's why I have yesterday written a letter to the Home Secretary. I will publish that letter later today. I'm asking for an urgent meeting, and I've also had it confirmed that I will be later this week meeting with the Chief Constable of Essex to discuss the security arrangements.
Good man. I mean, when I opened that yesterday in the Mail and today, obviously, the Sun, if you just creep behind the headlines of a gym and a football pitch and sports hall and snack bars and a disco and snooker tables and minibuses, there's one word, Pete, that comes out the whole time with people who listen to talk, and more people are, for the reason that it is common sense and we speak the truth. Do you know what that word is, pal? It's unfairness. Every single morning, thousands of alarm clock Brits will get in contact and go, sorry, can I just get this right? I've got up at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock. I break no laws. I work my arse off. Excuse my French. I pay my taxes. I look after my wife or my husband, my kids. And I look at the footage that you've got. And people smirk at me when I say this, but they should stop smirking, because I think to myself, well, that's not fair. Why would I live my life and feel like I'm a second-class citizen in my own country? And for all those people that for years have jumped up and down saying, oh, it's really important. You know, every day I have this discussion, Pete, right? France is a safe country. There's 7 other countries behind France that's safe. The reason that we have this invasion, and I absolutely agree with Nigel Farage, it is, whether it's down seasonally or down because the boats are bigger. Dan made that point. I don't know whether I agree with that, but certainly it's probably less, but there's probably reasons for that. The fact is, it is happening, it continues to happen, and the British people, not in any sort of outrageous statement this, are really at the end of their tether, because for the first time, I think, in our history, having always done the right thing, moral leaders, blah, 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 done Ukraine, here we are, feeling like our government, the French and most of the rest of the world, is laughing at us. And articles like this are so important, and people like you in areas sticking up for your constituents is important. Just very quickly before you finish, I've never forgotten the Bell Hotel in Epping when the local council, like your council, went, yeah, we identify ladies with your problem, we're going to close that hotel which is next to a secondary school. The national government got a lawyer and went to court and said, and I quote, the rights of immigrants are more important than those of the British people. That's what you're fighting.
Yeah. It is, and what's deeply concerning is the 2-day induction training course, which the migrants, which is not mandatory, that we were told, that they go on, where they are told that they of the asylum process, but they're also told as well of how to treat women in this country. You know, and you know they are told that it's wrong to sexually assault women.
Yeah,
it's
or abuse children. Yeah, we did the whole pamphlet for a week. Unbelievable.
It is, but the thing is as well is that I asked specifically, do they give that pamphlet to these migrants that are in Wethersfield? And they said no, they don't give it to them. But what they have been doing is a lot of what's been contained in this, they have been including in their induction training course for some time now. And they said that they introduced it when it became necessary. When it became necessary. So what...
I come from a different world, Pete. If you need to explain to men who are coming to this country that it's not right to rape women or abuse children, you don't have my same value system. I'm sick and tired of listening to it. You're not escaping persecution. You're coming here because I'm going to wipe your backside, allegedly, better than any other country, so you can do one. I don't understand it, mate. I genuinely, it drives me insane. Pete, we haven't got much time. It's breakfast. Great article in The Sun. Great piece of work by you and the reformers in Essex Council. Come back to us next week. Let us know how that gets. I'd love to know how the Home Office responds to this, Christian. Would you come back on again, Pete, when you've done that, yeah?
I certainly will. Absolutely, my pleasure.
All right, good man. Thank you very much indeed. Peter Harris, Reform Leader of Essex County Council, 20 to 9. We couldn't do a show without her. Mother's on next. Angela Levin on Tour Breakfast.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Two guests to cram in. We've got Victoria Atkins, the Shadow Secretary of State for the Environment, on ahead of 9. And right now we say a very good morning. I love this woman. She's like my mum, but actually young enough to be my sister. Angela Levin, good morning. I had to get you on, albeit very briefly today, because there's this massive spread in the Daily Mail, right, which, if you get a chance to read, is utterly fascinating. It says what Harry and Meghan's new life in Britain will really look like. It cuts to the chase and basically says that he is going to be the key stay-at-home parent for the next 12 to 15 years. He's going to do the school runs, make the packed lunches. He's going to go and do the go into school and be a daddy for the day. He's going to take place in the daddy's race and come last. She, though, is going to come and go. Whilst fulfilling her business interests in California, she'll flit in and out, but they've got £8 million only to buy a house in the Cotswolds. But what's important is she keeps the business thing and he becomes the stay-at-home dad. I don't want to be cynical, Angela Levin, but they're splitting up, aren't they?
Of course they are. But Meghan, as it does say, actually, she doesn't want to lose Harry. That's the point of it. She wants to stay with him so she can have this royal feel around her as she tries to sell all her rubbish. Now, I am absolutely furious with their lies, but you can easily read them. She said several months ago, her children gives her a deep sense of purpose. She never wants to go away from them, but she's going to go off for months and months while she's working on all her things. What does she say she's doing? Ever business in Los Angeles, developing number of films and TV drama. So that's what she's going to do. She's hardly going to be there. And Harry is going to shove his kids into this school where they stay there till just about bedtime. He doesn't want them to sleep there, but he wants to stay there because he wants to do old age, the way that you are from a long time.
It's a day boarder. I know. I actually, yeah. So it's a day boarder.
A day boarder, but extra.
They stay after school.
And he comes in and goes to sleep.
Yeah. Listen.
Poor little kids. Poor little kids.
Yeah, I just put them all in boarding school and see them at Christmas. I'm old-fashioned. Listen, but on a serious note, on an absolutely serious note, I completely agree with you. I remember when my old man was alive, you know what he did? One of the last things he said to me about this lot, and I never forget this, he said he'll be back within 5 or 10 years with his ginger tail between his legs, and the fear for him will be, and maybe this is cynical, forgive me if you don't agree, the fear will be that he will lose his kids to her and she'll stay in Montecito. If we're being really cynical, you say she doesn't want to lose him, he's got everything he wants. He's back in England, away from California, which patently doesn't want to be. He's got his kids into an English school, and if they do split, she's got no hope taking them back to America. That would be my overview of it without going into too much detail.
Yeah, but she'll want masses and masses of money that pay for her if she leaves the kids there. So that's why she's very calm, very nice at the moment, because she's going to win either way. But I just think for those two kids, it's absolutely hateful and horrible. I also think that Harry's preparing them to be following up as a consular of state. You know, the people who actually stand in for the king if they're not well. Harry's only number 3. And I think when he says he wants them to have this strong way of being talked to and have the education that he wants, but he never did any education. He wouldn't work or do anything when he was at school. So they'll be ready to have a royal place.
He's third in line behind George and Louis, but then let's bear in mind that his children, his son is then 4th in line to the throne after William becomes king, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. Yeah. It's scary. They've got to get rid of him. They've got to stop it. They should keep on fighting to get that out of the way. It's just dreadful because these two are cunning, very careful people of making what's right for them and absolutely knocks out everyone else.
I also read that this hasn't blindsided the monarchy. I could be wrong. Read this in the Mail that Charles and William, it said, have known for several months that they were looking at schools and are actually not blindsided and are okay with it. Maybe there's a belief that he will finally leave that woman and come back. I've no idea, but
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. That piece of writing, and I like the woman who's done it, but that piece of writing is one of the things from one of people who say, we're going to make something that's really nice. Don't worry, we'll just say it, and then we just change it a few weeks later. You know, that is not true. They don't care about it. Why did they actually burst in with the king and make it very shocking for him? Because he's not well enough to have all these things done when he's not very well. And I think that they don't give a shit, actually. Excuse the language.
Yes, we'll knock that out. That's fine. No, listen, I understand your anger. And in fact, what was the survey the other day where huge numbers of people in this country say there's too much, it's gone too far, you can't take on this institution. But let's be perfectly honest, we're both royalists. There are plenty of people who don't like the royal family, who see it as a waste of money, who don't believe that they do anything for this country, who will use this as fuel for the fire, and that's what angers me. The thing that angers me, and you're going to go, well, you're doing a television radio programme. Yes, and of course we talk about it because people want to talk about it. But if these guys went away and did everything quietly and just got on with it, like, I'll give you the example. Camilla Parker Bowles was loathed by this country, and she got her head down, and she's become, I think, an extraordinary example of somebody who can turn public opinion by hard work and duty and keeping her mouth shut, and I respect her now enormously. 20 years ago, she was a hated figure because of what they perceived had happened, and Diana and all that sort of stuff. So it can be done. I don't think in Meghan's case, maybe he's ahead of all of us. Maybe he doesn't want to be with his wife and has got his kids home. But you're cynical. I am as well, because with these two, there's always a... It's never quite simple, is it, with them? There's always something behind it, a reason for doing it.
They're going to do it, then they're not going to do it, then they are, then they're not. So they drive you mad. You don't know what they're up to. And then they go, boom, this is what's happening now. And it's always, look, walking in as if she's a queen. It makes me mad. She can't cook a thing, can she? She doesn't even know.
So you wouldn't go to theirs for dinner, then?
Never, ever. I'd rather starve.
You say it how it is. We love you. Thanks for blaspheming. It's brilliant. It's my favourite part of the morning. We love you. We love you so much. Angela Levin, thank you very much indeed. 10 to 9, we're live across the UK. In a tick, Victoria Atkins. I'm going to go to a voice note. Malcolm, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. I was just sort of giggling in my van driving up to Bristol from Devon, obviously. And I was just giggling about Charlie saying about what his previous jobs were. Well, basically, I've just sort of been a train killer with the army for 22 years. Before that, I was pulling teats for a living. I said teats because I was milking cows, obviously. And then now I've just got my own business as a consultant, working sort of like 8 days a week, you know, sort of 26 hours a day, just so I can pay tax. But anyway, you should be feeling sorry for me, and a veteran, more time served than that other bloke, 22 years. So I reckon I do need a mug, and I can be your mug rep down here in the southwest. And I can show everybody the mug, put it in my van here, so when I go away and have me brew, they can go, oh yeah, talk. So I reckon you owe us a mug. Cheers.
go to Calais train station?
Yes, train station.
Okay. I was gaping. It was brutal. Come on, guys! Ready, full touch, go on! And they're on the way over to UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. 7 minutes to 9 o'clock. Let's say a very good morning and good of it to be on Shadow Secretary of State for the Environment. Victoria Atkins, good morning.
Good morning.
Are you doing the business? Is that really the grass outside Westminster? It's a disgrace.
I mean, look, well, this, I'm afraid, is the summer that we've had, isn't it? I know from my travels around the country visiting farms, I'm afraid this is what a lot of fields look like across the country. It's the weather and, you know, it may be unsightly for us, but for our poor farmers, it's their livelihood.
Don't worry, flash flooding on the way. Victoria, loads to talk about, albeit briefly. Really appreciate you joining us. Have you had a chance to see or watch any of our world exclusive yesterday as Christian Drogan, our reporter, became the first reporter to break back into Britain on an illegal migrant dinghy? The Home Office, you'll be interested to know, called it reckless and irresponsible, and then we found out that 2 hours before they'd arranged to see him to get the information that he gathered. It's really gained traction. The French's role in it as well, it's especially. What's your response?
Well, I think that's an amazing piece of investigative reporting, if I may say so, and thank your reporter for putting himself at risk to achieve that news story and help us all understand the realities of what these criminal gangs are doing to bring people to our shores in a way that is just causing so much anger across the country, but also concern, because we are a fair-minded country and we want to treat people well, but if they break into our country, then they must be detained, they must be deported, and we cannot have the sort of nonsense that we're seeing under this government. This is why Chris Philp, my Shadow Home Secretary colleague in Shadow Cabinet, has got this clear plan on controlling our borders, which includes pulling out of the European Convention on Human Rights, because whilst it was written in the aftermath of the Second World War with the very best of intentions, sadly now it is being manipulated and skewed by activist lawyers and by campaigners who are not using the convention as it was intended all those years ago.
Do you, and of course the biggest problem, and listen, we have you guys on every morning and we appreciate your involvement. This show is about getting balance, but surely one of Kemi's biggest problems is drawing that line in the sand between what went before and what happens now, because you will forever, I suspect, or not forever, for a while, be accused, well, hold on a minute, why didn't you pull out of the ECHR, or at least suggest it, when you had your 14 years? We look at Rwanda. It was thrown away straight away by Labour, and yet last week Shabana Mahmood was talking about another country, a different country. All I say, and you are absolutely...
That, isn't it?
You're absolutely right. It doesn't matter about seasonal changes in numbers. It matters that we're paying the French £500 million a year to stand by and allow people like the Sudanese asylum seeker who was jailed yesterday for having attacked a woman 30 times with a bottle. Thank God there was a sensible judge. People in this country, Victoria, they really have had enough. They have had an absolute enough of waffle, and they want to know that a government or a Prime Minister will finally do something about it. I think that's fair enough.
We totally get that, and this is why Kemi has been so firm in making it clear. You know, the Conservative Party is under new leadership, and by the way, we took a hell of a kicking at the last general election. You know, we lost many Conservative colleagues because the public were making it clear they were fed up with how things had gone in recent years. I mean, up until the issue with the European Convention, I was talking about us repealing Labour's Human Rights Act, because that is where all of this trouble really has cemented itself in our legal system. I was talking about repealing that back in 2014. We have tried, in fairness, over the years since then to look at, for example, a British Bill of Rights, but it was only really when Kemi, with her new leadership, instructed Lord David, the Shadow Attorney General, to do a really thorough legal advice on what it means to leave the European Convention, because please, please don't believe those people who claim that it's going to be easy. It's not, but we need to be frank about the trade-offs in this process. And he did that piece of advice, and we've arrived at the conclusion that we must now leave the Convention. We do it with a heavy heart because actually, as we all know our history, we know, as I say, the intentions behind that Convention in the aftermath of the Second World War. But what is so infuriating is how I'm afraid leftist lawyers have used that Convention to their own ends, which has only helped criminal gangs. And it is with that clarity of thought that Kemi brings, that determination that she brings, that we, the Conservative parties, are now completely behind the principle that we must leave the Convention in order to be able to take back control of our borders. If you remember, the reason that Rwanda fell down, that we couldn't send people off, was precisely because people kept suing the government.
I'm not trying to interrupt you.
Stop the flights from taking off.
No, I would say
that was so difficult.
I would say this. I understand there's a line in the sand. I think Sunak was too late in bringing it to the table. We've got 1 minute. Here's something that I'm saying to everybody this morning. The fallout from that programme centres for me on something that's massive. I cannot believe this government, starting with Lammy and now with Alex Norris, are trying to con the British people again by not releasing the figures of crimes committed by foreign criminals. I'm telling you now, every politician, the British people have a right and a desire to know. We've only got 40 seconds. I'd love your response to that, Victoria, if I can.
Look, I agree. I mean, surely the lesson for this government is that they have to be straight with the British public. And by the way, we're big enough and grown up enough to take these figures and to understand them properly. Your viewers will understand them. But if we are to restore trust in certain parts of the state, because when people talk about, you know, the state not working, it is the state, parts of the state that are not working properly. That is what this government must do. I fear they won't do it. They're not serious about it. But we as Conservatives understand that. We have done the hard work of how we can deal with this, including the trade-offs. And with Kemi, you know, you may not agree with everything she says, but you know she will tell it to you straight. And that is the new Conservative Party under her leadership.
Victoria, it's great to have you on. Thank you so much. Really, as ever, appreciate the Tory party putting somebody up every day. Shadow Secretary of State for the Environment, Victoria Atkins. It's 9 o'clock. The news is next, my friends.
Secretary has brought forward a very rigorous plan in relation to this, and let's remember, of course, the numbers can fluctuate, but overall boat crossings are down quite significantly year on year, so that does suggest that the plan is working.
We've just witnessed drone footage of the French authorities handing out life jackets to illegal immigrants and then waving them goodbye as they head on their way towards the UK. So the French are actively helping and facilitating illegal immigration. In addition to that, the French forces did nothing to stop that huge migrant dinghy. In fact, the dinghy came out, then it went back to the beach to pick up even more illegal immigrants and then departed for a second time. During all of that, the French did nothing, and they even handed out life jackets and waved goodbye as these illegal immigrants head towards the UK. I think that's terrible. I mean that anyone who did cross the channel and arrive in Dover could be immediately deported within around about a week.
Wait a second, he's just dragging a line by the look of it.
Is that a warning shot towards us? I don't know.
Well, I was trying to work
Okay. The French officers could clearly see we were conducting an interview on the back of the fishing boat. They sailed extremely close to us and started firing gunshots, 11 live rounds. We could see the bullets hitting the water behind our boat. They weren't firing before their approach. They weren't firing afterwards. There was no notification of any kind of training exercise. So it did seem to me to be an effort to intimidate us.
The thing that I find, and I should say alarm clock Brits find so frustrating, Chris, and this is why I wanted you on this morning. Yesterday, finally, the unelected Messiah of Manchester stood up and said to consummate fury from most of us that Labour's plan to stop dinghy migrants is working. This, Chris, despite the fact that 1,000 illegal migrants have still come into this country in the last 9 days since he became Prime Minister.
Je suis un député dans le Parlement du Royaume-Uni. Why have you allowed the migrants into the water? Why haven't you stopped them?
Pourquoi on les stoppe pas? Pourquoi on les stoppe pas? Our order is to let them go like that.
Your order is to let them go?
We just have to say to them, don't do that, it's dangerous.
So your orders are not to intervene?
We have to protect them.
Well, there's also protecting the border as well.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Just gone 9 o'clock. We're live across the UK. Talk, of course, the home of common sense and the home of you, the alarm clock Brit. Thanks so much indeed for tuning in, because when you do, it gives me so much more time to work out what's coming next. I just told the lot here, the gang, the A-team, a story about how the world has changed. This is not disrespectful to my parents who are no longer here. It is true story. I'll get the reaction straight away from my next guest as I tell this. I want you to pan straight to her. That terrible story this morning that Barnstaple Hospital and the local health authority seems to have massive problems and poor women having to drive 2 hours to give birth, which just about sums up what's happening to so much in our country, despite the fact that we're paying out millions, billions to the French and illegal migrants come here and get everything. It just reminded me of my late parents that I was born in the front bedroom of their house in Reading. This is absolutely true. And the old man, being a sort of old-fashioned boy, said it was all a bit, he said to me, it was all a bit sort of loud and messy and I felt a bit sick. So he sat on the little front wall and he sat genuinely on the front wall, smoking his pipe, presumably reading his paper, probably eyeing up the women that were walking up and down the road, if I know my old man, whilst my mother, bless her, probably without any pain relief at all, gave birth to me in the front room. And I swear this, peeps, 25 minutes, no less than 25 minutes after she gave birth to me, she went down the stairs and made him a cup of tea, took it out to him and said, "Are you all right?" Is it only me, Isabel Oakeshott, who thinks the world's changed? Because that's a true story.
I wish I'd met your mother. What an absolute legend. Were you, but I have to say, I'm sure that you were not the first child. Is that fair? You're not the oldest?
I beg your pardon?
You're not the oldest of your siblings. You have older siblings, right?
I have one sibling, yeah.
Because giving birth does get easier when you've done it a few times. There's no way anyone who's giving birth for the first time is going down to get a cup of tea 25 minutes later.
There you are, you had it. Gynecology lessons live on Talk Breakfast. Thank you very much indeed. No, I was the second. No, that was brilliant, Isabel. That's the best answer. Can I mean, I do it the whole time because you scare me. I'm joking. Unbelievable piece of work yesterday. Response has been phenomenal to Invading Britain, the undercover migrant returning. For people who haven't seen it, it's on our YouTube channel now. It's got such traction. I loved so much about it yesterday. My favourite part, of course, was that when the Home Office released a statement, just as you and I were doing our piece at 7, they said this is reckless and irresponsible and it's getting in the way of dealing with the issues. And yet we then discovered they'd already contacted Christian Drogan, your reporter, and said, could you please come into the Home Office and tell us all the information that you've got. How have you found the response over the last 24 hours, Isabel?
You know what, I'm really thrilled by the response because it hasn't been too party political. I mean, of course, the lefties have ignored it. It's all too awkward for them. But it was really great to hear. Was it Victoria Atkins, your last guest on, praising the investigation? She's a Tory MP. You know, of course, admits that quite a bit of this is effectively, you know, their legacy. I feel that people recognised the work that went into it and how important this type of expose is. You know, it wasn't just a sort of, you know, a flight of fancy or some kind of jolly jape, as the Home Office was sort of suggesting, reckless. It wasn't that at all. is a very serious piece of work. And I hope that lots more people will watch it in the coming days and months. You know, the first episode of The Undercover Migrant, which focused on Christian's time in the camps of Dunkirk primarily, has now had about 1 million views, which is good going for a YouTube documentary of that length.
I completely agree. A couple of friends of mine watched it. They were taken by everything. The injustice of what the French do. That piece where the gendarme went out and said, "Oh, anybody want to come off a mile out?" And the 4 smugglers do it every day. That's ludicrous. I was also quite pleased as well, Isabel. Pleased is the wrong word. I had Tony Smith on, ex-Border Force chief, earlier. That actually Christian made a really interesting point about how he felt that Border Force did a good job and actually were as frustrated as those of us they're dealing within the confines of the law. But what I took from it as well, which has sort of reared its ugly head today and is the bit that infuriates me indirectly, is still after this sort of footage, after everything we know about really an increasing feeling that the British government, whatever their colour, tries to pull the wool over its subjects, is this story this morning that families of victims of murders and sexual assaults by migrants have begged this government. It was David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, now replaced by Alex Norris. They are still refusing to release figures saying who out of foreign illegal migrants are committing crimes. And it is beyond belief to me that some little spads whispered in the ear of a minister, "Oh, don't, you might sort of fuel it." Because actually what's happening is the opposite. People are furious about this. I think that any political party with any gumption should be all over this. But we live, as we know, in a multicultural society, and perhaps certain politicians don't want this out there, certainly on the left. I think this is something that needs to be talked about. It needs to be released. And governments need to stop thinking that the British people don't have their finger on the pulse. But because of work like you, I think they do.
So this is really important. And again, it is something I've been going on about for many months now. And to be fair, Robert Jenrick of Reform has also been very, very strong on this. There can be no excuse at all for this data not to be released. We, the British public, deserve to know what are the facts and figures here, particularly because if we've all got it wrong and we're all kind of getting really hysterical for no reason, thinking in our minds that there is a grossly disproportionate number of these offences committed by asylum seekers, then I think it's right that we should know that we've got it wrong. But in the absence of that information, I think we're entitled to go on what we see with our very own eyes through what's coming through the courts on a pretty much daily basis. I think there's a lot more that's being covered up. You know, we put in a freedom of information request, Christian and I did, about the number of work visas that are being issued to kind of questionable establishments that really don't need to be importing foreign labour. And we'll bring this story properly to talk in coming days. But the response was, it wouldn't be in the public interest to tell you.
And that's what infuriates me, because that's, I mean, one of the things about your piece yesterday, and I don't know, I'm guessing the mainstream media haven't picked it up.
Well, actually, we've had great coverage. I'm really happy about that. I'm not sure the BBC have touched it. But
of course not. Of course not.
As you know, The Sun did a huge piece yesterday. The Telegraph ran over 2,000 words on it. The Times picked it up. So I like to break stories that are impossible to ignore. That is what I do. Working with Christian, that's what we intend to do more of. And if there are elements of the media, like the BBC, that think that this isn't really sensational stuff, then I think that really raises questions about the very point of them.
I completely agree. I think it's one of those things. I said it earlier, and I'd love your take on this. I think that documentaries like yours do something that I think all media should do, which is to present the facts to the British public and allow them to make up their own minds. Now, I'm I've criticised social media. I can criticise the impact of TikTok on those kids racing around and killing people and poor innocent policemen. I've criticised social media for some of how young people get on. But one of the But one of the good things about social media is stuff like this story, because this story would not be told. This would not be in a BBC documentary because it doesn't fulfil, in their mind, what they want to say. It goes against the ethos. But for me, it's really simple. Don't think you can con the British public. I think they're more switched on than ever, Isabel. And I think stuff like this and why don't you release those figures, you're hiding something, I think is a real misjudgment, I have to say.
So there's an awful lot of really good citizen journalism going on. I know it's a frustration for those of us that have spent our whole careers in this to see, you know, shabby, irresponsible, you know, cameras shoved in faces, iPhones where they shouldn't be, you know, stuff, misinformation. There's plenty of that. But also, you know, people are fulfilling an important role in exposing stuff that they just stumble upon as they're walking down the street, for example, or they're on a night out, whatever. This sort of footage, I think, is fantastic. And a lot of it just doesn't really get picked up. And actually, that was the original idea for Christian's platform, Watchmen, was to draw together some of this material that ordinary people just gather and verify it and check it's good, and then try to get a wider audience for it. Without that, you know, we would be heavily reliant on a BBC that just doesn't want to tell painful stories that don't fit with its agenda, and I'm afraid a newspaper industry that is absolutely on its backside. You know, within our own company, News UK, there are still powerful investigations units on our papers, but this is dying a death. You know, it really is. Investigative journalism is fading out, and the reason is because it's very expensive and resource intensive. And, you know, most papers now, they just don't have the revenues or the patience
because
to do
of course
that.
And also because of course with investigative journalism there's never definitive proof that you'll get a story that it'll pan out as you want it to pan out. I mean, this, let's be honest, to people who perhaps are tuning in to talk for the first time who haven't heard about this station, this took you over a year. There were several aborted attempts to contact the smugglers to get their confidence. There were a couple of abortive attempts. There was money, there was worry, there was all sorts of things. And you're right, if you're a newspaper editor and your numbers are down and your budgets are cut, can you afford to send a reporter on a wild goose chase for 14 months? Probably not in the scheme of things, but I'm so with you. I know there are people who don't do it very well, but I've never seen a reaction to anything. This went everywhere and continues to go everywhere. And I think also says an awful lot about the sorts of media that we do and other stations like us. It's all well and good to be, you know, the main people and all that, but this to me is so important. It's so important that people know this. These pictures are not made up. This is factual, it's real, it's raw, it's not perfect. That's not what you want. You want fact, and there's plenty of fact in this documentary, isn't there?
So I think that's what this station is all about. You know, yes, we're a talk station. You know, we talk about the biggest issues of the day, and it's the home of common sense. But I think I said this yesterday, it should also be the home of truth seeking. You know, we should and are every day trying to bring new stuff, not just talk about what's on, you know, what the BBC is saying or what other news outlets are saying. We don't need to be just led by them. We can do our own stuff. Absolutely. And you know, these are the things that people in the pubs are talking about, the biggest frustrations of voters right now.
It's the water cooler moment, and let me tell you, the water cooler moment is absolutely all about this issue. Can I just point something out while we're talking? I have screens on with Sky, with the BBC, with other news outlets, and there wasn't any mention of this. I've had Victoria Atkins from the Tory party on this morning. I've had Robert Jenrick from Reform on. Mia Fantavalli, the new Energy Secretary. Nobody from Labour will come on this station. I find that extraordinary. Not because they would disagree with me and I would disagree with them, but you'd come on and have your say, wouldn't you? They won't come on at all. Strange.
Yeah,
that.
I think that's disappointing because
Yeah,
we
I
all
do.
know, Jezza, how nice you always are to everybody. I know you would. I genuinely, you would be very respectful.
I want to
and
hear their side. I want to
know
hear their
you,
side.
I know you do, and we do. And you know, actually, it always makes great listening when we get Labour people on. But not many of them seem to have the guts to actually come on. And all credit to some of the sort of Labour supporters and former advisors that we do manage to persuade to talk to us. But yeah, please, any Labour MPs that are listening, get involved, because you might be surprised. You know, maybe you can bring something to the debate that we haven't thought of. You know, this isn't supposed to be just an echo chamber.
Absolutely.
I know sometimes I get stuff wrong, or people can change my mind about stuff. I mean, I said something a couple of weeks ago on Talk that went pretty much viral about the death of Jason Ardre, very awful and extraordinary story. And I was talking about my perspective on suicide and saying it's an incredibly selfish thing to do. You know, people that do that are not in their right minds, but it is a very selfish thing to do. And one of our listeners actually wrote into me and said that I'd got that a bit wrong, and that I perhaps hadn't acknowledged the depth of pain that someone is in when they do that. That means they're not thinking about selfish or not selfish, or even to the point they're actually thinking that they're doing the people around them a favour.
Yep.
That's how desperate they are. And I kind of was grateful for that feedback.
Yep.
It was critical of me, but I took it on board and I changed my language around it.
And I think that this is my point about politicians, right? I feel we've reached a point where, let me give you an example. Breaking news, don't even push the breaking news thing. I'm going to give this guy a chance because he's not Keir Starmer. Andy Burnham, right? I understand that Dolly Parton was an icon. I do. And many people are heartbroken at her passing. He's today paid tribute to her following her death and said the American country singer leaves behind a legacy of great music that people will treasure forever. Why is it, right? And that's fine, so I'm not being disrespectful about anything here, but a series of politicians, in my humble opinion, prime ministers and senior politicians, seem to say what they think will get a good reaction because a focus group or a SPAD's whispered in their ear. Maybe if you do a dedication there, quite rightly, to Dolly Parton, very sad news, or you do that about bus fares. You know, there are so many issues, right? And I watched him being interviewed the other day about the situation that you and Christian were. Numbers are down. I said to Darren Hodges this morning, numbers are probably down of boats, because they're now sending bloody boats that take 230 people instead of ones that take 30 or 40 people. And it probably is seasonal. There might be less people across Europe. But we've got this problem. I just don't see or hear enough of politicians going, do you know what I'm going to do? I said this earlier. I'm going to stand in front of the British people and I'm going to tell them how rubbish it is. I'm going to be honest about the way people are coming into our country, how the ECHR and the Refugee Convention is destroying us, how we're skint. And I'm going to be like Thatcher or Blair. I'm going to be totally honest. I'm going to give them my plan. And I'm going to acknowledge that 50% of the country are probably going to hate me and try and act against what I'm doing. But that's what I believe in. I'm sick to death of politicians that blow with the wind, Isabel, is what I'm saying.
I think Andy Burnham is nowhere near angry enough for my liking about this situation. You know, he's touched on it. Very, very little more than that. You know, he made his little trip down to Dover to stand around an empty dinghy. He has touched on it. He's paid lip service to it. I can tell there's no fire in his belly about this issue. It doesn't rankle him. He doesn't accept and understand that not only is it a massive burden on the state, a multi-billion-pound burden on the state, on our public services, it's depriving the British people of so much of what they deserve, but it is also a national security crisis. He just doesn't seem to get that. I would know if he got it, because I would see the light in his eyes, I would see the spark, I would see the determination. It's just not there. The best he said is, the British people don't like the fact that the borders aren't working. Oh no, Andy, the British people are raging about this, and you better understand that if you don't want to be turfed out.
Completely agree.
About those falling numbers. They are real. There is a significant drop-off in the number statistically that are getting across the channel. But here's the thing. Christian knows from his own eyes that those camps are not getting smaller in Calais and Dunkirk. They're actually getting bigger. They're getting more permanent. And I think there's a whole other dimension to this about people coming across in other ways now.
I completely agree. Just before you go, Carol in Birmingham, I loved Isabel's programme last night. I wanted to ask her this. I think it said Border Force travelled an hour and a half from the UK into the Channel to pick up the illegals. Might I suggest they go the whole hog and go the rest of the way to Calais and pick them up just to make absolutely sure they get here with no problems? Also, if it's such a dangerous crossing, how can so many get here? Can she see anything changing with all the morons we have in charge with their heads stuck in the sand? Because this infuriates me, and I think she probably speaks for Great Britain, doesn't she?
I mean, we're going to, later this week or perhaps next week, we've got some suggestions. We've got some other recordings where we talk about 2 or 3 things that could be done that would not involve any great massive drama with the French. 2 or 3 things that could be done that will make a huge difference to this crisis. And these are things that I think Labour could stomach doing. But in short, no, I don't think this problem is going to stop between now and the next election. It takes real leadership, real determination, and it takes someone who is actually as fired up as we are over it.
I love the fact that you said that you're going to bring us some ideas of how this can be solved without upsetting the French. I'll obviously not be in that meeting because I would stop paying them 500 million and take away their bloody fishing licences because I think they're taking the mickey out of us. I really, really do.
I mean, I'm completely in favour of that. I would be full Trump on this and I'd be having trade wars and so on. But we don't want to just shout about things we know this government aren't going to do.
Good point.
You know, that's easy. We can all shout about that. We want to come up with some things that are realistic for this particular lot of wimps.
You're a legend. We've loved having you on. Seriously, we'll speak to you tomorrow. But can I just say to anybody who hasn't, it's on Talk's YouTube channel, Invading Britain, the Undercover Migrant Returns. Isabel Oakeshott, our international editor, and Christian Drogan, who we showed you yesterday has become the first British undercover reporter to ever break back into his own country in an illegal migrant dinghy. Just seriously, give it a watch. Hello, Helen.
Why can't we just have a law that goes something like this? If you come from France, you are not seeking asylum because it was perfectly safe where you are. Therefore, get lost. Get lost. Why can't you just do that?
Go to Calais train station?
Yes, train station.
Okay. I was gripping it. It was brutal. Come on, guys! Ready, full fence, go on! And they're on the way over to UK.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, almost 9:30. We're live across the United Kingdom. Is Alex Phillips on at 10 o'clock this morning? Duncan barks, does he? Oh! Alex, so she's not here, he's here. Duncan barks. Woof! Woof! What? A day off? OK. What, on a Thursday? No, it's Wednesday. She's back on Thursday, OK. Alex not here today. Duncan barks, does he? He's here. Woof! I don't know what. I'm sorry, it's ridiculous. He's on. I hope he doesn't bark up the wrong tree. Anyway, he won't. He's a good man. 1 o'clock. Is it Ian Collins? Is he on holiday as well? Ian, the housechoice wife. What? The housechoice wife is back. The housewife's choice. It's all going really well, isn't it? Followed at 4 o'clock by Trevor O'Sullivan, the ex-porn star, and does drive time on this show. We're joking. Kev is here, sounding brilliant, by the way. Yesterday, I listened to him for 30 seconds. I'm joking. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Let's say a very good morning to a legend of a man. That's what it says here. News reporter at The Sun, Thomas Godfrey. Hello.
Good morning, Jeremy. I never thought I'd have you woofing at me. That's
it's
a fascinating start to my morning.
It's because Duncan barks is on 10. I mean, it is, you know, some people say you can't say that, but does he bark? I've no idea.
We have, probably get himself in trouble by saying this, we've got a reporter called Nick Meow down at The Sun, who is a very, very good reporter.
Stop.
So,
this is brilliant for the last half.
We need to get Nick Meow on the Duncan Barks show and...
Yeah. He's perfect, isn't he? Thank you for Mark. Let's do that then for the last half an hour. It's very serious. The worst and funniest surnames in the history of your life. Kyle. At school, I was called Kyle Pyle Hemorrhoid. I'm just going to drop that in there for you. Godfrey.
Godders, generally. Godders, it's a pretty...
Duncan barks. Woof! Does he? And Nick Meow from The Sun. That's brilliant. What's the weirdest surname? 87222. There's it's a protein yoghurt that'll be good for you as a prize. Nobody wants that. 87222. Thomas, welcome to the show. Get your texts in. It'd be nice to hear from you. Have you seen our piece of work yesterday?
I have, yes.
Extraordinary piece of work.
Extraordinary. It is extraordinary. I mean, to have someone actually on the boat, to have footage of... I mean, we read about it every day. We watch drone footage of it. We hear ministers talking about it on the British and French side. But to actually see it from someone on the boat, the moment you're taken into Border Force custody, the moment the French come out and help out, in a way, you know.
Well, allow the smugglers to go back onto the boat.
Back to France so they can keep doing it and doing it and doing it again.
Somebody texted yesterday and said, Jez, you keep talking about how in that documentary, a mile out, the French boat comes along. It doesn't say we're taking you all back. Enjoy your trip, but it is quite, you know, rough. Does anybody want to get off? To which 4 men go, oh no, maybe they're not French, I don't know. A good tummy ache. Oh, you come with us. And somebody said, you're being really unfair to the gendarmes. I mean, how would they know? Because they do it every bloody day. It's the same 4 people. It's the same smugglers.
You think after a while...
That's Dave again, isn't it? Or David?
The French gendarmes would sort of have their own human version of facial recognition. I mean, in the same way that, you know, I come up here, I know you're Jeremy Kyle.
I'm not, though. I'm Duncan. But
the French gendarmes get on this boat and they see the same revolving cast of people smugglers. Eventually, you're going to get suspicious that the reason the boats are still going is because those 4 people are going back to France every morning and organising another one the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And so it was absolutely extraordinary to see in real time something happen. It's a fantastic piece of work. It's doing very well online, and rightly so.
And the interesting thing was, I don't know if you knew this, I mean, this is, for me, the best bit. We'd been on air about 5 minutes, and the Home Office put out this very stroppy message, basically saying, you know, let's be perfectly honest. I mean, this is reckless and irresponsible, and you've jeopardised our relationship with the French. We're fantastic, and we're bringing numbers down. And when I put that to Chris and Drogan, if you saw it, he went, well, that's really weird, because an hour ago they contacted me and I'm having a meeting with them at the end of the week because they want my information. So there again, the Home Office doesn't know what its backside from its elbows doing.
I think it's very rare, isn't it, to have first-hand evidence, or someone willing to hand over first-hand evidence or publish first-hand evidence of these boat crossings, which is what Talk have done, and presumably what Christian may or may not, it's his stuff, isn't it, his material, give to the Home Office to actually sort of prevent future crossings. And the numbers are lower than they were last year, but what you have to look at is the fact that it's not going to end anytime soon.
No.
And also we have these extraordinary images now of mega dinghies. 230 people to a boat.
Well, somebody said that earlier. There might be less boats, but the boats are bigger.
The boats are bigger, and there are, I think, as Isabel was saying just before I came in here, the camps are getting bigger as well. There are more people massing on the shores of Calais and Dunkirk. And even last week we had one of the sort of lead politicians in the north of France, Xavier Bertrand, saying that people in Calais and Normandy have had to live with the migrant crisis on their doorstep for 25 years. And his solution to it was, after we've given £1 billion, his solution was the British should stump up more money. Because that has solved everything historically, hasn't it? Every time we give the French more money, they solve the problem. No, they don't. We're still here talking about it.
I'm probably the wrong person to speak to about this, because they say, oh, you don't... I mean, Isabel, I said it to Isabel, you don't want to upset... I don't give a toss if I upset the French. I'm not giving £1 billion to be laughed at. I am not... I don't force... we've done the argument, haven't we, Thomas, with there are 7 safe countries to come from Eritrea or Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I've listened to the Labour Party, that Josh, whatever, Sam Rush, whatever his name was, I can't remember, Sam Rushworth from Bishop Auckland say to me it's because of colonialisation and they all speak English. That's tosh as well, because we're spending £100 million a year on interpreters. I see us as a soft touch. I see that, my opinion, that Europe is punishing us because we dared to leave the European community, and I don't see backbone sufficient enough in a succession of prime ministers. To me, it's really simple. If they said to me, right, your job, I would have a crack team of professionals trained within an inch of their lives who can tell, a 60-year-old man with a white beard isn't an 11-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in finding a different country. I would make it really simple. With the Navy or Border Forces control, no boat's going to land in my country full of illegal migrants or people who are questioning whether they have a right to be here. Because in my world, if you were able to come here legally with a passport, you'd be on a plane, wouldn't you? You wouldn't be coming on an illegal migrant boat. So, again, no disrespect, Scottish, half Scottish, somewhere off a Scottish island, uninhabited, I'd build a detention centre. Not horrible, but not brilliant. So the message got back that we're not the soft touch we are. And I would do it within 24 hours. I don't give a damn who says I'm wrong. If you can do it in the passport office, and actually what I thought from that show was how good Border Force were and actually how frustrated it came across that they are. So you're telling me we couldn't do that? And if you've got no reason, you're going back. And I'm going to do what Australia did. I'm going to send you back to your country, because I suspect the majority of people in this country would go abso-bloody-lutely.
Well, it's the point I was about to make about Australia as well. I mean, we've come...
It was amazing.
We've come so far in this crisis now over the last 8 years. So 200,000 people have come into this country. And it sounds absurd as it does 8 years ago when you suggested the idea that people would get on an inflatable dinghy that may or may not overturn.
It used to be lorries, didn't it?
With a tiny little engine that can barely go 10 miles an hour, and they're going to sail it across the busiest shipping lane in the world, and they're going to be picked up by the Border Force or the RNLI or whoever, and then brought in and put into accommodation in this country. I mean, it was farcical 8 years ago, it's farcical now. And how far we've come when the Conservative Party, who this crisis started under, let's not forget, are now suggesting detaining and deporting people.
Which was, and I'm not some sort of echo chamber, as Isabel said. That's what Nigel Farage has been saying for 15 years. Detain and deport and leave the ECHR and do something about the Refugees Convention. Now everybody's on board with that. And of course, I said earlier to Victoria Atkins from the Tory party, you have to ask these questions. You had 14 years to repeal that and you didn't do it. Now, apparently, you're going to do it, and that's fine. Burnham, though, and this is no disrespect to the late, great Dolly Parton, today has released a statement paying tribute to Dolly Parton following her death, aged 80, and said the country singer leaves behind a legacy of great music that people will treasure forever. Yes, she does. But I want to know why you're not stopping the boats coming in. Sorry if I sound cynical, I genuinely believe that.
Well, it is the #1 concern on the minds of British voters. It has been in every poll for quite some time. And I think that it's twofold, really. It's the visions of people coming into this country this way, but then it's the sort of what feels like a constant non-stop stream of stories of crimes committed by asylum seekers.
Now you've brought me to my favourite subject of the morning.
I mean, you know, there's one in the papers today, a Sudanese asylum seeker lay in wait on a high street for lone woman before slashing her 30 times with a broken bottle. There are so many examples.
And I was delighted, by the way, the judge is called Judge Mayer, has been talking about this all morning. He jailed him for 25 years. The bloke said, I'm mentally ill, Ibrahim al-Bashir. Denied asylum in France, interesting, but got into England. And the judge went, you might be, but you're going to jail for 25 years. No, but you smile, unlike that piece of rubbish Valdecane, or whatever his name is, Calicane, who murdered 3 people in a mental institution, is getting £1,000 benefit a month into his bank account. The world's got, honestly, I know I'm boring and old.
Rudy Cabana, who's now in Broadmoor, you know, he says he's mentally ill. And actually, the other side of this you have now is victims this morning coming out and saying that we need to be given the numbers, we need to be given the data on crime by immigration status. And it's something, I mean, we did an investigation a year ago or so that found that about 1 in 100 people in asylum hotels had appeared in magistrates' courts accused of crimes.
Why do you think the government, I mean, The Sun leads the way in investigating these things. It's the #1 story for us today, how the families of, as you said, those victims of murder or sexual assault have begged the now Justice Secretary Alex Norris, Calamity Lammy before said no. Why would they say no? Charlie already said, because some spad will whisper in there and go, won't look very good. But the environment and the world we now live in, with places like The Sun and Talk, now people who are more switched on than politicians give them credit for are going, what are you hiding? We want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's never, I mean, you can use a 4-letter word in this sentence, it's never it's the cover-up, isn't
Absolutely.
It? It's actually trying to conceal these things down the line that makes it into a far bigger story.
Completely
and actually makes people more angry, because you're right, it's you sort of understand that sort of Whitehall brain of no, we can't let that out. That
But wouldn't anybody in Whitehall have a brain to go, do you know by not doing this you're going to look rubbish, you're going to look like you're covered? Nobody seems to look at that angle, which I find astonishing, which is why the media needs to do this and do it correctly.
No, and I think, you know, there are just so many case studies, and the details of these case studies, you stack them up and you read through 10 or 15 cases at once, and it does give you the impression that all of these crimes could have been stopped if these people did not come to this country in the first place. Then those crimes wouldn't have happened. Simply wouldn't have happened.
I don't know if I told you, I'm sure the guys on The Sun would tell you this, but I was talking to a... I can't even remember because I'm getting old. I mean, I do know, but I'm not going to say. And she looked me in the face, this feminist, and do you know what she said to me? White men rape women as well. And I looked at her and is that your reason to say that we shouldn't allow an invasion of unvetted men into our country who are so disassociated with our value system that you need to give them a pamphlet saying don't rape women or abuse children? Therein lies the truth, right?
Yeah. I mean, that book looks unbelievable. It's just
where does that come from?
Jaw hitting the floor every new page you read in that book.
And Steve Burnham, all this gives people the right to understand. And then that amazing piece on page 10 of The Sun today, Peter Harris, the Reform leader of Essex County Council, got into Wethersfield, which is like a holiday camp, and he said he talked to all they hadn't been given that document. They were read it when they were here.
Oh, well, look, I mean, we've seen videos from inside Wethersfield before of people dancing and having karaoke machines. And it does just make you think, I mean, is this a sort of holiday camp? I mean, obviously it shouldn't be.
That's how it's perceived. If you're a hard-working alarm Brit, the video... Look at that's on screen right now.
I know, yeah, there
you
we
just
go.
play pool and have a dance and a drink and have a little pick from your snack bar and we'll all get up and pay the tax to keep you sat there.
I know, and it must be jarring if you wake up at 6 a.m. and you listen to this show and you're driving around or you're off to go and do some work, and it must be absolutely jarring to know that the money you're putting back into the system is maybe not going towards your child's, you know, school or the NHS or something like that, but it's going towards something like this, because there is a way to prevent this from happening, and it's to actually stop the boats, and no one in the last 8 years has made any real fist of it.
Mate, it's so good to have you on. We love having you on. Thomas Godfrey. Sounds very posh. Certainly better than Jeremy Carr. Oh!
Duncan Barks.
Duncan Barks. Woof! Is on at 10 o'clock, and there's a bloke at The Sun called, what's he called?
Nick Meow. He's a very good reporter. He's a very good reporter.
We've also got a girl at school was called Teresa Green. See, I love that. 87222. What? Oh, yes, very good. Teresa Green, thank you very much indeed. You're a top man, Tom Godfrey. And just to show that this show is literally thrown together, from Teresa Green to John Redwood. Morning, John. See what I did there? How are you, sir?
Morning, Jeremy. Well, you built an amazing bridge in short time to get to me, didn't you?
Yes, we did, because we're not letting you get off. We're not letting you get off. Sir John, quick question. Have you seen in any detail or any way at all the Talk World exclusive yesterday with Christian Drogan coming back into Britain as an undercover migrant?
Well, I've seen clips of it and I've read about it. I want to see it. It is fantastic journalism, very crucial. And it underlines the point I and a few other MPs in the previous Parliament were making, that the French are not trying to stop this business, and that there are obvious things that could be done by the authorities on the French side to smash the gangs and stop the boats, which they're simply not doing. And if a journalist can bravely do all that was done there, why on earth can't the authorities, with all their resources, do rather more to find out who these people are and to stop the boats before they go? One of the ideas I put to successive governments was mystery shopping. They should have people on mobile phones pretending to be illegal migrants sitting in Calais, trying to find out when the next boat is going and who they had to pay and getting the contacts. Yeah. It's an obvious thing to do. And then when you knew that there was a boat going at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, you should be there on the beach to puncture it or stop it, and they won't do that. It's just ridiculous how simple things are not being done.
It's really interesting to me, following that, the publication of that documentary, and then seeing the outcry. It leads to a bigger question that I've been asking all morning, which is, you're from a different age. Take that the right way, a bit like me in this broadcasting lark. But I says to Charlie Rowley at 6 o'clock this morning, explain to me, for example, Calamity Lammy refused to release the figures of crimes committed by illegals, right? Alex Norris, who's the new Justice Secretary, seems to also be blocking the data's release. Families of victims are begging the government. Do politicians really not get it? Because I can tell you categorically there will be millions of people in this country who will go, well, patently it's a large number, and they don't want us to do that. So somebody's whispered into you and gone, probably better not to do that, Minister. What that's done is the complete opposite. Everybody now is convinced, and I don't understand, John, why politicians just don't stand up, take the flak and face the people and say, yeah, the numbers are terrible, and yeah, we need to do it, and I'm going to create a detention centre, or I'm going to put the Navy in the forum, I'm going to stop paying the France 500 million, or, you know, all of the things. We're going to take away their fishing licences. Why are we not proactive in this?
Well, because they don't believe it, do they? I mean, we have all this false commentary from the government that they want to understand the public mood and they're going out to listen and they want to reflect what the public wants and they want to tackle the cost of living as their #1 priority. But that's not what they believe. They want to cooperate with the Europeans. They want to sidle up again to the EU. They want to get on well with France. They want to go off to their international meetings without any difficult issues on the agenda that might get in the way. That's their agenda. They're leading a totally different life from the rest of us. There they are in 2 number 10s now with all the support staff and the cars and the armoured protection. And so it's getting more and more difficult for them to understand what the public wants. But I think it's complete disgrace, Jeremy, that a British democratic government thinks it can withhold legitimate and important public information from the public and from Parliament. And that would never have happened when I was advising Thatcher. We have plenty of embarrassing questions asked of the Thatcher government and things had gone wrong. And we felt we had to let that information out. But of course, we let it out with lots of other information and with our explanation of why it wasn't such a mess or whether we were going to solve it. But we didn't think we had the right to withhold the underlying information. I think it's just a disgrace. And I think when Parliament is back next week, the opposition has got to kick up a big fuss about this, that we deserve and we need that crucial information. And this ridiculous argument that we should let lots of foreign criminals in because we got criminals of our own. Surely the fact that we got some nasty criminals of our own tells us exactly why we don't want to let more criminals in.
And also we should be concentrating on dealing with those. I mean, I'm so with what you say. I struggle. It must be in terms of politics, and it is, for people tuning in, this man was an absolute pain in the backside to many, many prime ministers because you had a belief system and you stood by those beliefs and you spoke out, at times, promotion-wise, to your detriment. But I've said it before about you, that to me is what a politician should be. we talk repeatedly about Thatcher and we talk about even Blair at the beginning. There's my mantra, that's what I'm doing. Disagree with me, you're sacked. I'm going to go with it, and if it doesn't work at the end, then I'll walk away. But that's what I'm going to do. I don't see politicians anymore prepared to stand in front of the British people and go, look, it's going to be hard. We're skin. I'm going to have to cut things, I'm going to have to charge a little bit more, but I'm going to take you on a journey. If there's good news, like I'll get 30 billion back by taking the Chagos Islands back, I'll get 15 billion back by not giving it to foreign aid. I'm going to concentrate on you guys. I'm going to build some Nightingale prisons. I'm going to make sure I get agreements and try and get these bloody people gone. I'm going to include... I don't see that. All I see is sort of media-trained, social media active MPs standing or saying something. Ministers who plainly don't even believe what they're saying, but have been told to say it to what? Garner an opinion, shore up support, and most of the time, John, they end up doing the complete bloody opposite, which is what Alex Norris has done, which is, at the end of the day, frustrate and annoy millions of people because he won't give out facts because he doesn't think we can handle it.
Well, he knows that it would be deeply embarrassing to him and the government if they did give out the facts because they're on the wrong policy. You just set out an agenda that I like, but it's not an agenda this Labour government wants to do. But what we do want them to do is to be more honest about their agenda and the downside it brings. So if they really do believe that you've got to be nice to an awful lot of people in Calais and let a lot of them come here, they've got to set out why they think that, and then they've got to have proper measures which mean that those people could come and make a useful contribution instead of coming and living at everybody else's expense in the way that you've been showing again today. And in a way that contains possible crime from the minority of them that are vicious criminals. But they won't do that because they know the public are miles away from that, so they don't want to talk about the subject. And then when they do have to talk about it, they withhold the crucial information. It's the same with the energy prices. We all know that our electricity is the dearest in the advanced world and it's 4 times the cost of gas energy because of all the renewable extra costs and the carbon taxes and the renewable subsidies. And all we get is this idiotic soundbite that, oh, there's too much gas pricing in the system.
Yep.
When our bill says, no, it isn't. It's all these extra renewable costs and the extra grid you need, because you need more grid if you have renewables rather than gas-fired power stations and so on. So again, it's the same thing. The public wants lower energy costs. The government know they want lower energy costs. The energy prices keep going up. So the government spins us a ridiculous line that clearly isn't right.
Completely agree. God, you should have been Prime Minister, man. We love having you on as ever. A massive thank you to John Redwood, former Conservative Cabinet Minister on Talk Breakfast, 10 to 10. And it's taken 3 days and nearly 11 hours and 50 minutes of broadcasting. And he's back from his holiday. Morning, Angry Rob.
Morning, Jez. It's Rob. I'm back, baby. I'm back. Bit like Andy Burnham on his European tour. Or should I call him Andy Busker? First of all, you had Keir Starmer taking people's coats at NATO meetings, and now you've got Andy, and tonight, Matthew, I will be Liam Gallagher on his guitar. Our Prime Ministers look like weak fools. They look like people who have had too many shandies at the local karaoke. They're a bunch of idiots. As for all this migrant crime, mate, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I've just come back off holiday. It took me 4 years to save up the money and take my family on holiday. 4 years! I used to be able to do that in 6 months in the summer. Now look at it. The country's a joke. We're run by bloody idiots who don't give about us. But I tell you now, when it does come, mate, all of these flag-burning, hate the British, non-patriotic Queenslands, they can get on a dinghy with all of this drifting over the channel and they can all sod off with them. Because if they love them that much, that's where they need to be. Where the problem is, back in other people's countries.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to 8 minutes to 10. Duncan Sorry, Duncan barks. No, he doesn't. Oh, yes, he does. Woof, woof. Duncan is here from 10 o'clock. Brilliant, brilliant man. Good man. Ian Collins, the Housewife's Choice from 1, and Kevin O'Sullivan would drive as we continue the discussion of our fantastic, amazing world exclusive yesterday. Well done, Isabel Oakeshott. Well done, Christian Drogan. He became the first British reporter to break back into his own country in an illegal dinghy. Unbelievable footage, and you can get it right now on Talk's YouTube channel. The beauty about YouTube is you can watch it any time of the day. I mean, honestly, the world's changed. Honestly, you can watch it tonight, this afternoon, this morning, this evening. Shall I just carry on? Anytime you want. Talk's TV channel. There you go. Lots of people ringing in about... oh, look, Duncan barks. Oh, it's not like barks. It's got an E. It's not like woof. It's Barquez. Duncan Barquez is on from 10 o'clock. That's what I'm going to call him, Barquez. He's on from 10 o'clock. Lots of people talking about, of course, Dolly Parton, sadly. Iconic woman. Just seen Paul McCartney said her singer-songwriting and her philanthropy will go unrivalled forever, which is a massive compliment. Taylor Swift saying she managed to give the world the ultimate mystery and fantasy in some corners of her life, but to give full transparency in others. Dolly Parton passing late last night after a brief battle with cancer. Zarina, about the migrant crisis, Jez. If they arrive from France without papers, then they cannot prove they are fleeing from anywhere in the world that is war-torn. The only fact remaining is they came from France without papers, so they should be returned. Jane says, why are you on a diet? There's nothing to lose. Jez, migrant holiday camp. Can I ask one simple question? I don't know how I'm supposed to answer this. I'll put this to Christian. What are all these migrants going to do when they want female companionship, says John from Poole. Christian? Christian, any ideas? 0800. No, I've no idea at all. Barry Field. Many people want to leave the UK. Surely they could just make use of the small boats to go back to France and escape this bloody country that I used to call home. Great show, Jez. All governments know about the migrant issue. None of them wants to tackle it to a degree that means stopping the boats. It's easy to give free bus travel and actually tackle the main issues. They are scared of making any decisions. They are not leaders. They are just going through the motions. They talk the talk, but never, ever walk the walk. Morning, Jez. Is it not about time the Navy and Border Force get together and get out and stop this and deal with the consequences? What will Andy Burnham actually do? He's hardly going to get in a boat himself. I'm fed of being told our eyes are lying. The government are causing mental health problems by telling us what we see is not real. That's Louise in Ipswich. Very quickly, I'm Anna. You know what really ticks me off? Our energy prices keep rising, but the migrants in the hotels, the barracks and the HMOs don't get a penny, and they're warm the whole time. Almost 10 o'clock. Duncan Barquez, our new presenter, is on from 10 o'clock this morning, and next he's going to come in here and do a passable impression of Duncan Barks, a professional broadcaster. Back in 3.
Go to Calais train station?
Yes, train station.
OK. I was gipping. It was brutal. Come on, guys! Ready, full touch, go on! And they're on the way over to UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Couple of minutes to 10. I only joke, he's a top man. Duncan Barquez is here. Do you like Barquez instead of Barks?
No, Barks.
Do you? What?
Yeah.
Did you know there's a bloke at the Sun called Nick Meow?
I didn't know that.
Literally,
maybe we could do a column together.
I think, yes, yeah. Barks and Meow. That's fantastic. Notice, you see what I love about this man? He's instantly talking about money like me. Maybe I could get a column out of this and a couple of £100. That'd be all right, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Have you seen the Migrant World exclusive?
I have. I thought it was disturbing.
It is
very
disturbing.
And we'll be talking about it a little bit later on the show. Also, looking at the war on motorists.
Yes.
As Birmingham looks like it's going to become the